Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel and indeed your channel. I am your host, Mike Shriver with Mike Shriver Ministries right here on YouTube. And let's just get right into this. Today, I'm guessing, 5,000 strikes on the enemy. As Shakespeare said, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Let them loose. And here we have it. Punch it, Chewie. Look at that. And it's good to have everybody here. Angela, child of God, crazy old soldier, yet still young.
Want to stay underground.
And Jeff Depew is here somewhere, I know.
Again, our most
Amen. Good to
intense
see you
day
all.
of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence
5,000
more refined
one
and
day.
better than ever.
Now it's wheels up for America's
The
deadliest
military
weapon,
punched it up
the
to Warp 9.
B-52 Doomsday bombers, capable of carrying 70,000 pounds of ordnance, including cruise missiles, 30,000-pound bunker busters, and even nuclear weapons.
Lawrence, great to see you.
It's the first time the Doomsday has been deployed since the start of the war. This is what the president means when he says, "You ain't seen nothing yet." Iran's missile launches have collapsed by 92%. They went from launching 420 missiles a day last week to averaging just 45. We're knocking them down and blowing up the launch pads. The Iranians are also running out of friends.
Big mistake by the Iranian regime to start targeting its neighbors right away, exposing who they are and what they're all about. Indiscriminate targeting, flailing recklessly at the beginning. I can't say that we anticipated necessarily that's exactly how they would react, but we knew it was a possibility. And I think it was a demonstration of the desperation of that regime then and that regime now, that they still think their pathway out is to try to alienate their Arab partners even more, who've instead decided to come to us.
The mullahs are isolated and their proxies are biting the dust. Israel eliminated Hezbollah's commander in Lebanon. The Houthis have gone dark. And Hamas, so far, has respected the ceasefire. Meanwhile, the performance of the U.S. military,
with
the
Hamas,
chairman of the Joint Chiefs, puts it like a poet.
Those jets are fully loaded with missiles and bombs, and they are a world-class team combined with the naval aviation and the aviators in those jets. This beautiful symphony of American spirit is the definition of perfectly organized chaos. These are dedicated young people who take the road less traveled to serve their great nation.
We've hit over 5,000 targets in Iran. Their air force is gone. Their navy basically underwater. Their arsenal had to be demolished when it did, because in a few years, they would have wrapped these weapons around their nuke program, and it would have been too dangerous and too expensive for us to strike.
The regime's intention was to use this exponentially growing ballistic missile threat to make it virtually impossible to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable.
Every American president since Carter has known the rogue Iranian regime was hell-bent on death to America. Obama gave him
Amen,
cash
Joseph. Welcome
if they
in. Good to
promised
see you.
not to nuke up. They took the money, they nuked up and manufactured missiles. Biden told them don't. Bribed them too. And they kept enriching and stockpiling missiles. Defanging Iran has been American policy for decades. Finally, Trump took action.
The president also stated from the beginning that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And it's one thing to say.
Sharon Peterson, great to see you.
Anybody can say that. I mean,
Our new
Barack Obama
moderator,
said that.
along with Angela, child of
But
God.
to do something about it takes
Kristen,
courage
days apart.
and resolve. But in
Or a day
that
apart.
courage and in that resolve, you can also be very scoped in what you're trying to execute to ensure that the sacrifice of Americans, American treasure, American lives, all of those properly meet the objective that you're trying to accomplish.
The president doesn't want a forever war. Iran engaged in forever talks while they waged a forever war on us. But the president says it'll be over very soon.
Country
The remnants
Carpenter,
of the
good to see
regime
you
are
again.
begging Trump to pick up the phone for peace talks. But in public, they're talking tough. One Iranian security official told Trump, quote, "Be careful not to get eliminated yourself."
They've been trying to kill him forever, and the good Lord has his hand on our president.
One leader is allowed to leave the strait. But the administration isn't playing games.
If they do anything to stop the flow of oil or goods within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the world's most powerful military 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far.
The Iranians
Amen.
don't have the juice to close the strait, but these threats are scaring the insurers who cover these tankers. CNN, citing anonymous sources, says what's left of the Iranian military is plotting to sink the tankers.
We have some important breaking news, and that is that CNN is learning Iran has begun laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. This is according to two
Somebody
people
get him out of
familiar
here,
with
please.
the matter.
Thank you,
Raising
Angela.
Cain said, "Don't even think about it," and bombed 16
Not in my
mine
chat
land
room.
boats that hadn't even left the harbor. There it is. As soon as the Iranian Navy leaves shore, they get smoked
Kitty
like a
cat.
Coke boat in the Caribbean. Today, the market
That's a good
stabilized,
analogy.
and
I
oil
love it.
prices closed down about 9% at $86 a barrel, down nearly
But
$40 a
$14
barrel from yesterday's
For
highs.
$40 a barrel.
The
Wow.
mullahs aren't going to booby
didn't
trap
know it
the
was that
strait
high.
and get away with it. 20% of the world's oil flows through there. Oil producers have other options. Shadow tankers are shutting off their radars and just sailing right through.
Dave Miller, welcome
and our
in.
allies have a backup plan. The Saudis started sending a lot of their oil north through a
Turn it down a little
pipeline
bit.
into the
There you
Red
go.
Sea.
Well, not
The
bad.
strait was closed for days. It's the biggest oil disruption in history, and Trump got it reopened. On top of that, the president announced we're opening the first new American refinery in 50 years, a $300 billion plant in Brownsville, Texas, and we got India to build it. Iran, getting a little into Baghdad Bob territory, says we've got the Americans right where we want them.
He
That's
said
cool.
at this point in time, Iran is gearing
oil
up
should go
for a
down.
long war. He says at this point in time, he sees no room for diplomacy whatsoever between
Brother
Iran
Ken,
and the
welcome
United
in, buddy.
States.
Good
And
to
I
see
thought it
ya.
was quite interesting that Iran is going to be the one that's going to end this war. Iran will define and will determine when this war ends. So clearly the Iranians believe that right now they are entrenched. They say that they've replenished their leadership.
The commander-in-chief slightly disagrees. He says he's in total control, ahead of schedule, and the war will end very soon. We just haven't won it enough. Their leadership's been decapitated. All branches of the military, they've been decimated, and we have full air supremacy. And their economic warfare strategy's been neutralized. And tonight, the doomsday bomber's going to pay the Iranian capital a little visit. But the Democrats say it's a quagmire. We lost.
We've got a math problem here. Regime change didn't happen. The son of the Ayatollah might be worse than the dad. The president said last summer we obliterated the nuclear weapons that they had and the uranium. That wasn't the case because now they're talking about ground operations to remove what's left. So I don't see from a strategic perspective what was accomplished.
It took us 10 years to get bin Laden, 6 years to get Hitler, 2 years to get Milosevic, 9 months for Saddam, 8 months for Gaddafi, and we blew the Ayatollah away in 50 seconds and took out the entire Iranian military in less than a week. And the Democrats say we haven't accomplished much. Former Clinton pollster Mark Penn says this, quote, "The press is a drumbeat of negativity favoring the Iran regime. It's puzzling at this point how any success is buried. The reality is likely the regime is being pummeled on all sides." Operation Epic Fury is accomplishing a mission that's been in the works for almost 50 years. Of course, there have been mistakes. Yes, there have been casualties. And yeah, oil spiked. But Americans shouldn't lie about a war. You can disagree with the war, but not the war effort. It's being exquisitely executed. The commander-in-chiefs kept the Arab
boo Mark
alliance
Kelly.
together,
Yeah.
calmed the markets, reopened the strait.
So we will have
and
Senator
demolished the
John
world's
Kennedy
#1
tonight on
state
the channel
sponsor of
as
terror
well.
in 9 days.
I don't want to brag.
He'll be the last one we
You know,
we
they
watch
said this
tonight.
about a lot of things. No other president can do some of the I'm doing.
Be sure to like and
Okay, so we got
subscribe
part
for
2
all
to
the
that.
Fox
So
News latest on
we
YouTube,
actually got
and
the
catch full shows streaming now.
all right,
on
next
Fox.
one right here. All right, here we go. Another one. Punch it, Chewy.
Let's go back to Tel Aviv for a moment. Nate Foy is standing by.
Oop.
Nate, sirens just went off. What are you hearing?
So yeah, Tel
Where'd that
Aviv is
go?
under ballistic missile fire right now. If we can, we have to be careful with landmarks, but if we can, I'd like to show some of the outgoing interceptors in the air. They're going into the distance. You can't quite see them as well as you could just moments ago as you hear the sirens turn off right now. But what I can tell you is that they were going off for several minutes. Tel Aviv has come under fire several times. The air defense has been remarkably strong, but the IDF, as I just shared in the prior report, says that half of these missiles are the cluster munitions that are really difficult to defend against, even with Israel's phenomenal air defense, 4 layers of the Arrow 2 and 3, the David Sling, as well as the Iron Dome. So we haven't heard anything yet. I just saw an interception over here to my left. Sometimes it takes a few seconds to actually hear the explosion after the siren turns off, as you can hear those sirens in the distance again, because this has been a wave as we hear some explosions, Laura, in the distance. This has been a wave here. Right before our first report on your show, I mentioned as we hear several explosions now, we heard of incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire into central Israel. Then there was a second wave into southern Israel, now Tel Aviv. So this appears to be quite a sizable wave.
Oh, yeah,
coming
Mark
from
is still
Iran.
present. I just
We
checked
heard the
on him.
president
He's there.
and several U.S. officials say that the regime's ballistic missile capabilities are only 10%.
It is live.
Of
Yes,
what they
ma'am.
were at
Or
the
I'm sorry.
beginning
Yes, sir. My
of this
apologies.
war,
Yes, sir.
but
We
you can
are live.
see that the regime still does possess the capability of striking offensively. Of course,
These
the
are videos from
Iranian-made
like an
Shahed
hour ago.
drones
This
are
one
even more
was
difficult.
recent.
This
I
right
think.
now is a ballistic missile threat. The way that it works is
Yeah,
we get a
from earlier
pre-alert
this
on
evening.
the phone, and then a few minutes later, this happens. The sirens go off, and then you can see that some people continue driving
Right now,
on the
this
street.
is 10:16
A lot
p.m.
of people, most people,
At least
find
on my
shelter.
channel.
They
But
go into
anyway,
bomb shelters.
just watch it.
This is unfortunately everyday life in Israel. It has been for years, for really the entirety of the country, but especially since the war has started. Let's see if we can show this one, Ben. We'll avoid any landmarks here, but you can see some outgoing, and right behind me, wow, we got quite a few in the center of Tel Aviv. This is quite a sight to behold. You can see the interceptor missiles defending the city and all of the residents below.
Aren't you glad you don't live in a town that's going through that right now?
Guys,
Thank God.
We'll wait to hear any explosions.
So far, we're
But
still
man,
fairly
you can
safe
hear the
over
air
here in the
defense
USA.
at work right now, Laura.
This video
As
was
it has been
actually
strong
technically
let's go back to Tel Aviv for a moment.
Again, these cluster munitions pose a
2
different
hours
kind
ago.
of challenge because
2 hours
they
ago,
break
this
up
video.
into several different bomblets, and they're more difficult to intercept. But we haven't heard anything that indicates a direct hit. We did just hear an interception, several interceptions. So that is the
Explosion
latest
in
from
that.
where we are right now, Laura. We'll send it back to you.
Nate, I just heard an explosion in the background there, and I know you're getting these alerts on your phones. The cluster munitions and the incoming ballistic missiles, can you get any sense how far outside of downtown Tel Aviv? I know just general Tel Aviv, but far outside of the city, these are striking from your vantage point. We won't give away, obviously, where you are, but can you sense how far out they are?
Well, this is happening right over Tel Aviv and also right outside Tel Aviv. I mentioned this is part of a wave where central Israel was the first target, then southern Israel, now Tel Aviv. And as you just saw, I'm not sure if we actually showed you with the camera view, but some of those interceptors were fired off directly behind me in the heart of Tel Aviv. So this is happening, over the city. That's where the interceptors go off. I can't tell you exactly where they intercept with the incoming ballistic missile fire, but you can hear those explosions as they continue in the distance, pretty close to where, all these people live. This is the second largest city in Israel.
Well, Nate, what's unbelievable is that people are just driving on the roads. As you said, they've gotten used to this. And it's in the middle of the night, obviously, so it's 1:15 in the morning. But Israelis have gotten used to war and dealing with these incoming attacks. They've already lost, as you've said, is it 11 individuals in this in Operation Epic Fury, and it continues to be deadly, no doubt.
Yeah. Talking to some people, and obviously getting into a shelter is the smartest thing to do. It's the safest thing to do. But there's a lot of frustration, and people act defiantly where they think to themselves, at least, they've told me, I've gone to the shelter enough times. I'm going to continue living my life. I was doing something important, and I'm not going to continuously allow these conflicts to interrupt my life.
Kenny, sorry,
so
it's
some
funny.
people take that, path.
Weezer, I
but
never
as
heard
I
of
said,
him.
obviously, the smarter thing to do is to get into a
Well,
bomb
I'm
shelter. which is
51
what
years
more
old,
people
so
do.
I don't think I could
But
lead
when
sing
you're in those
anything
bomb
except
shelters,
for
Laura,
maybe a
people
worship
are
service
not
at
freaking
church.
out. They are annoyed, and they are waiting for it to end.
But I appreciate
they have
the compliment.
Tremendous
I
faith
I
in
think
their air
that's a
defense
compliment.
systems.
I don't know
But these
Weezer.
cluster munitions have provided a
Weezer.
different challenge, and we've seen more casualties in Israel from those cluster munitions than we would otherwise.
All
Well-
right, Nate, unbelievable. Stay safe, my friend. Thank you very much for staying with us.
Well, before we hit the next video, today has been the biggest day of bombing since the war began. Over 5,000 targets hit just today. That's wow. Wow. All right, here we go. We're on to the next video. Punch it, Chewy.
I'm Kaylee McEnany, along with Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is
Where
the
did you go? Chewy. Chewy. There we are. Computer, what's the time in Tel Aviv right now?
We bring you this Fox News alert. We are in week 2 of Operation Epic Fury as the U.S. military and Israel continue to decimate
That's 3
the
hours ago.
Iranian terror regime at a furious clip. CENTCOM reports over 5,000 targets struck in Iran and 50 Iranian vessels damaged or destroyed.
Right on.
White House Press Secretary
Mine laying
Caroline Leavitt
ships
telling
too.
reporters that the
Which we
operation
got a video about
ends
that
when
too.
Iran can no longer back up their death to America threats.
Yeah, Weezer. That's what I said. That's Weezer.
10 days in, this campaign has been a resounding success thus far, and America's warriors are winning this important fight at an even faster pace than we anticipated. When President Trump says that Iran is in a place of unconditional surrender, he's not claiming the Iranian regime is going to come out and say that themselves. What the president means is that Iran's threats will no longer be backed by a ballistic missile arsenal that protects them from building a nuclear bomb in their country. And Iran chose this path to death and destruction. Iran wanted to attack the United States of America, and the president was not going to sit back and allow that to happen.
Computer.
President Trump
Home
talking
screen.
to Trey Yingst, laying out the rationale for the strikes on Iran. He said, quote, no other president had the guts to do it. I don't want some president who hasn't gotten the courage in 5 years or in 10 years to go in. It's like a gunslinger where he draws his gun first. And the liberal media is having a crash out over Epic Fury by dusting off the old Russia, Russia, Russia card.
Of course.
According to the Kremlin, in the middle of all that, President Donald Trump called Vladimir Putin and talked to him for an hour. And we only learned about that phone call
sounds like
because
a
the
dying
Kremlin
animal.
told us about it. The White House didn't announce it.
Welcome, Cindy,
The Kremlin
to
did.
Mike Shriver
Was it
Ministries
even
right here
in
on
the White
YouTube.
House
Sean, come
calendar
on
that
in.
today
Pull
was
up
the
a
day
chair.
Trump was supposed to check in with his boss?
Trump said the war will only stop after Iran's unconditional surrender, to which Iran replied, that's a dream America should take to their grave.
I mean, come on. What?
Okay, that's spooky.
What a traitor.
And metal as hell.
Basically,
I can't
we
stand
are
these guys.
sending people in to lose their lives.
Yes.
Because we've seen.
She was good on Star Trek The Next Generation when she played Whoopi, or she played, not Whoopi, she played Guinan on Star Trek The Next Generation. That is the only time that woman's ever been good at acting. And I don't even recognize, she's just awful. She needs God like we all do, but, oh, Lord. Anyway, punch it, Chewy.
How fighting goes.
So I was reading an old Guardian article about Maddow's history on Russia, Greg. She implied press briefings were orchestrated by the Kremlin. Never the case. I can tell you that from firsthand experience, that a strike in Syria, she concurred, might have been at the behest of Vladimir Putin and alongside him.
Do they actually believe we have no memory of the past 10 years? No one should be going to Maddow, Colbert, or The View for any kind of foreign policy or even domestic expertise. The View is actually considered a news program by ABC. That's like considering Jimmy Kimmel a comedy show. But it's a reminder that you should, when you hear these people say things and you feel like it's penetrating
She got an award for Color Purple.
remind yourself
I know that.
what their stances
And so that must have
were
been pretty
on
good
Joe
one. But
Biden's
I don't think I
competence,
actually
on
watched
Russian
the whole
collusion,
movie.
on trans,
But
on crime,
yeah,
on
I mean, she
Hunter's
got an award for
laptop,
it.
on the border. They were wrong on everything.
I can't
And this
think
is
of anything
why,
else,
and this is
though.
actually, this is not a great thing, but it feels like Trump has no loyal opposition. You know, nobody could take the Democrats seriously, and nobody could take the media seriously because they surrendered all their credibility during the Biden years. So no one is required to take them seriously. So there's like this open road where Trump feels like he can do what he plans on doing because no one's going to take them seriously. I think I said this to you that there's a new duopoly shaping where the legacy media. So here is the Trump White House, and this would have been the legacy media. They're gone, completely gone. And what's replacing it is independent media. So these are like the people that I actually...
Really quick, let me say this to Angela, Child of God. If you want to see Whoopi Goldberg, really good acting, dead serious, she's in 29 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, and her character is outstanding. So whenever I see Whoopi Goldberg, like, you know, on The View, or let's say, for example, when I'm watching Star Trek The Next Generation and there's Guinan, I don't see Whoopi Goldberg at all. My mind is able to separate the character from the person, the human, the real person. So that's how I can stand watching it, because I grew up watching Whoopi Goldberg play Guinan, and I love her character so much. Awesome on Star Trek. But in real life, we need to pray for her.
Trust, who I disagree completely with. I disagree with
29
Greenwald,
episodes
Tim
of Star
Dillon,
Trek
Red
Next
Scare,
Generation.
Joe Rogan on this topic, but they're not beholden to anybody. They're not covering for anybody. So I take their criticism to heart. It penetrates me, but nothing I get from mainstream media comes. It's like rain hitting the windshield of a Humvee.
That's a good point.
I don't feel it. The media has to realize what they've done by completely abdicating their calling to their career. In terms of backing Biden and demonizing the other guy, they've left this open road, and Trump is going right through it. If the media had been honest for the past 10 years instead of gaslighting us on all of these issues that I mentioned, they could offer credible criticism and we could listen, but they didn't, and we can't. So it doesn't matter.
You know, Dana, and you look at what's coming out of Iran. They told President Trump to be careful. You could find yourself eliminated, asked about U.S. ground troops potentially. They said, no, we are waiting for them. I mean, it's incredible.
I mean, it's a country of 100 million people about, and they, the IRGC, which surrounds the regime and protects them and suppresses the people, they're going to fight back. General Dan Kane said that this morning. He says, yeah, they're fighting, and I expected them to. And they might have more, and more missiles hidden. That was one of the suggestions, that perhaps they're holding back to wait for something else. But the trajectory is quite amazing. What our military has been able to do to degrade the possibility or the capacity of Iran to attack their neighbors and their own people is quite extraordinary. That is nothing short of extraordinary. And of course, that includes a lot of intel, not only from our side, but from the Israelis as well. And don't forget, I think that it's important, it's not just been this past 10 days, but Iran's proxy, Hamas, made a terrible decision on October 7th, 2023, when they decided to go in, take those people, kill those people, rape those people, take those people hostage. Many of them were Americans as well. And ever since
All
then,
right, you're
Israel
out of
said,
here.
okay, that's it.
Go get some manners
And
from your
Biden
mother.
sort of
Apparently she failed you.
slow-walked Israel on this. Remember all the fights that the Biden administration had? Like, should we help them? Should we not help them? I don't know. Finally, Israel gets to the point where they did the pager attack. They killed people, not just the pagers, but it was like many other sort of amazing intel. Then President Trump gets in and says, okay, I will help you. I do not want them to get a nuclear weapon either. So he did Operation Midnight Hammer. And yet still Iran wouldn't stop. So I'm not at all surprised that they're like, oh yeah, we're so big and brave. We're going to say that the president ought to watch himself. They already tried to kill him before. And previous presidents
Hey,
too.
Lambert's here.
And
Good to
many
see you,
other
Lambert.
Americans
Welcome
they
back
did
in.
kill or maim. So they're a little bit getting what they deserve. One thing I would just say that I still think is unfortunate, curious, and I hope that we get this turned around in the next 36 hours. It's that there's so little capability for the people inside Iran to communicate right now. We don't know what they're saying, what they're seeing. We don't have video from inside. They can't communicate in and out. And so that, to me, is something I would love, especially as a news organization, to be able to show people what is happening inside.
Yeah, no, that's a great point for sure. And Jesse, looking at the MAGA base, there was a lot of conversation when this happened 12 days ago. What's the MAGA base going to do? Well, there's some polling out, and it's YouGov, and you see Republicans overall moved up from 68% support Trump to 76% on this. The MAGA base, 85% support Trump. He has a lot of trust and has earned a lot of goodwill.
Yeah, you can disagree with the war, but not the war effort. We are accelerating these bombing runs, and their offensive output is collapsing. You have to look at it honestly, like these two colleagues to my left said. Everything that the Iranians have tried has failed. They tried to have a war of attrition, hunker down, let us run out of munitions and interceptors. That didn't work. They tried to hit the Arab allies. All it did was force them into America's arms. And then they tried to jack up the price of oil so the base felt the pain at the pump and the market could pressure Trump to take a knee. That didn't happen. The market is stabilized. Oil's down to $80 a barrel. And right now, the strait's open. It's not completely, but they are moving.
Good luck if you live in a blue state, though. Our gas is still high in Michigan.
We can use,
but it didn't go up since Saturday, so that's good.
Or we could seize Carg Island and then just like turn off their revenue with a little spigot. When Trump and Hegseth say that we're only just getting started, or, oh, they ain't seen nothing yet. That's not saying the war is going to last forever. That's a psyop to the Iranians to say, we're holding a lot back. We could be hitting their electrical grids, bridges, oil depots. What we're doing is that they act stupid. We're going to reserve those targets for that punishment. Right now, we're almost executing this war compassionately. This thing could be much
absolutely
bigger.
True.
The timing of the war is really intelligent because if you see the volley of these drones and ballistic missiles, imagine 5 years from now how much blood and treasure the American alliance would have to spend.
Yeah, Iran does. Absolutely, they do.
Busting down
they think
these
they're invincible.
barrages to take out the nuclear program. Their goal was to build a shield around it so we couldn't even consider the strike.
Mid-grade.
People have to be a little bit more patient. We took 10 years
Chicago,
to nail
beautiful.
Bin Laden.
219's a nice
2 years
price.
for Milosevic.
Very nice. Why can't Michigan do that? We're right by
9
you.
months for Saddam.
That's
Hitler
okay, Angela.
died
We'll
after
start
6
eliminating
years.
one after
We
another.
got this guy in 50
It's
seconds.
going to be a field day on trolls.
You have to acknowledge how great that was.
Yeah, a massive success, no doubt about it. And Harold,
I'd rather not
when
have
you look
them
at
here,
the
but,
idea
you know,
of Iran getting nuclear weapons,
what can
that
we
would
do?
essentially insulate them. You at that point
I am
couldn't attack
working
Iran.
on that
That's why
software. I got to
agree with
figure
Jesse,
out
you had to do this.
a couple of different options I got.
I don't think there's any doubt. It's good to be with you today as well. I'd say a couple things, and I agree.
I don't know how
largely
Kevin
my
does it on
colleagues,
Larry
to my
O'Connor.
left here.
He's good.
I heard
He's
General
good.
Kane this morning too, Dane, and I thought he gave the clearest, most coherent, most understandable explanation for what we're doing. And I would hope when he said we need to end their missile ballistic launch capabilities, we need to ensure, to Kaylee's point, they get no nuclear weapon. And 3, we're knocking out the Navy and Air Force, basically eliminating their ability to have to respond militarily. Now, what I would hope is that everyone would get on the same page. Sometimes the president says that, sometimes he goes more. I disagree with you a little bit, Jesse, when I don't understand fully when the Secretary of War and others will talk outside of what the president's saying or beyond what General Kane is saying. They just need a central message. And perhaps I think some of the data, some of the polling suggests, Kaylee, that the majority of the country, and I'm not part of that majority, is not in favor of the president.
I know.
In favor of
I know. I got to
to
figure. I should look that up right now, actually.
I think a lot of this could be solved if the president were to give a message, a national address, and just lay all of this out. 2, I am not one that thinks you should put a timeline on it, Jesse, but the president can't say, as he did yesterday, as we sat here on this set, and it looked as if he was developing or pursuing some sort of off-ramp and was saying that the war is basically complete. And then to hear the Secretary of War and General Kane this morning, it appears that it's not. Again, I just want clarity, and I'm one that can live with the consequences. I think many Americans, including many Democrats, can. I just hope at some point we fully understand it. Again, if it's the General Kane message from this morning, the press conference, I think Americans can rally around that, and they understand that may take a week, or it may take 4 weeks, it may take 8 weeks. And then finally, I don't know if it's smart to talk about us choosing the next leader of Iran. We didn't choose the leaders of Europe after World War II. We've never chosen the leaders of a country. I understand us not wanting a leader who wants to destroy us, but I do think it begs the question a little bit. The Israelis can't choose our leader. We certainly wouldn't choose the Israelis' leader, and they're our greatest ally in the world. So I hope the president and his team do two things: get on the same page and stop talking about picking the next leader of a foreign country.
And I think
so. There's a 52.4-cent tax right now on gas in Michigan, a gallon. So if you take away that tax, our gas would be right now, where I'm at anyway, would be, let's see here, Lake City Education, give me a minute, right around, somewhere around 303, 304 a gallon without the stupid 52. No, it'd be more than that, it'd be 313 a gallon roughly. But with 52-cent tax.
It's worth saying, President Trump's intent may be not having clarity, not broadcasting a timeline to Iran, and it may be part of the strategy. But time will tell. Time will tell.
Also, he chooses those. That's also a psyop. He chooses somebody he doesn't want, and then they don't choose that person. I do that all the time.
Yes.
Is that why you chose me for the show?
Correct.
Yes.
We got lots of psyops here on the 5. All right,
All right, part 2 of that.
And subscribe for all the 5.
I love Jesse Waters. I think he's my favorite on the 5 and on Fox altogether.
And the Democrats and media are ramping up their resistance to Trump's attacks on Iran. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries voicing their pessimism and already forecasting failure.
Get out of here, you hack.
The American people want us to focus on
Nice
making
one,
their
Angela.
life
Good
better,
grab.
making their life more affordable, not getting involved in another endless war in the Middle East that is
I got
going
this next
to
one.
end in failure.
Wars without clear objectives do not remain small. They get bigger.
That guy needs to
bloodier,
go.
longer, and
Go
more
retire,
expensive.
buddy, with Nancy
This
Pelosi
is not a necessary
somewhere on an
war,
island
it's
out
a
in the
war of
Pacific.
choice.
And some in the media are letting
And
their
not an
opposition
American-owned
be known,
island.
even framing it as an issue for the Democrats to run on in the midterms.
If this does extend 3, 4, 6 weeks, and the American death toll really accelerates, this is not just a defining moment for this president, but a real problem for his party in the midterm election year.
We don't know why Donald Trump just
Oh, it's
started this
Rachel
war
Mad
in
Cow
England.
Disease
Trump did it
Maddow. You heard it
basically
here
as a
first, because
favor.
I don't know,
President
maybe
Trump
I didn't
really
come up with it,
take
but I said it 2
every
years ago.
dictator on his own without consulting Congress or getting them to vote?
There's something fishy about why he did it to me. It's a distraction, like a wag the dog situation.
Like a wag the cat.
Can we start
Wag
with
the cat.
Hakeem Jeffries saying, while we have
Come on.
troops
Yeah.
actively working,
Yeah.
he says
Yeah.
it is going
my
to be a
baby.
failure. That is
That is shocking.
My
And,
girl.
and here's a guy that I've been on record a few times saying that he was going to be a legitimate threat in the Democratic Party in terms of like presidential and stuff.
Wow, really, Lambert?
Something like
With a
that.
tax
I don't know
on
when
gas?
we
Wow.
got to the point where when they're saying American people, it's the American people who are going over there. It's our troops that are going. Those are about as American as it gets. And to not show support, you don't have
Yeah, I
to
love you
agree,
too.
but just to use keywords like fail, or when did everyone become these predictors? It's always mass chaos. It's always, oh, the death toll is going to do this and do that. Well, at the moment, it looks like the United States is kicking ass and taking names, literally. They can't even have a Sunday brunch tea anymore to discuss because everything they do.
I love
America's
Tyrus.
one step ahead
Tyrus
of them.
is the bomb.
Where is the support? There is a moment.
If I ever grow up,
think,
I'm
at
going to be
least-
like Tyrus.
At least give him the week before you start dropping your.
One of his
your-
arms
your
is my
criticism
size.
From your, something seems fishy to me. Wow, what a
It
journalistic
depends
take
on the
that was.
circumstances,
It was a
Joseph.
wag the dog. These are American lives.
Depends on the
I
circumstances.
don't think, and the president again.
And we
his
haven't
resume,
declared war.
forget what you think
Otherwise,
of him.
you need
His
2/3
resume
of
shows
Congress.
That he is not in the business of
Sorry,
putting
I
men
want to
and
hear
women who serve
Tyrus.
this
I
country
didn't mean to interrupt.
more to discuss because everything they do, America is one step ahead of them. Where is the support? There is a moment, I think, at least give them the week before you start dropping your criticism from your, something seems fishy to me. Wow, what a journalistic take that was. It was a wag the dog. These are American lives. I don't think, and the president, again, his resume, forget what you think of him. His resume shows that he is not in the business of putting men and women who serve this country in the line of fire. He avoids it like the plague. And this situation, it is what it is. He's reluctant, but he knows it's the right thing to do, and I'm
Computer
trusting
screen
the
off.
process. But when you have these leaders, or they're not leaders, they're sound bites, and instead of being a part of the solution. The other argument would be with all the stuff they're talking about, because now they're going to say the economy's high because of the war. Where are your ideas and solutions? Give us one. Come to the table with one. Where's your magic health care? Give us
Tyrus
something.
for Congress.
Because I'm pretty sure if it's good enough, he'll
Senator
sign it.
Tyrus.
He's literally said 1,000,000 times, bring it to my office. So where are your solutions? Always telling us how it's going to end. It's like that one friend who never pays for dinner, always complains about the restaurant.
But rooting for failure is something else.
Yeah,
that's a great analogy.
Jesse, whenever we deal with the War Powers Act, we have to go back and remind everyone that Congress hasn't declared war since 1942.
No.
So the claim
1941.
that Congress wanted Trump to
December
come to
7th,
them
1941.
and say,
Or December 8th. It
let
was 2
us
days,
know
a day or two
everything
later.
and let us vote on it before you take any action. Like,
Yes,
the
my
Congress can't
girl.
even fund the TSA and FEMA.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't do that with a surprise attack. This isn't an Iraq war where you go to the UN and then you have this buildup for a year.
Ain't that right,
and then
Lawrence?
You ask
Doom
permission
and
from
gloom.
the Democrats and everybody votes. This was a window, and we took a shot, and we briefed the Gang of Eight before, and we did it afterwards.
Should President Trump went to the squad and asked the squad if he could declare war?
There's been an armada building in the Gulf for a month. Hannity, at 9 o'clock, opposite of her, has been covering it every night while she's been covering Epstein. And she doesn't know why. Call a source. Call someone in the deep state. They'll explain it to you. We've been at war with these people since 1979. Can I talk about Hakeem for a second?
Yes,
Dana,
please.
to say that the U.S. military is going to fail, that's what the Ayatollah said. And he's dead. You cannot have men and women serving, risking their lives overseas on, what, day 4 of an ongoing military operation, and the lead Democrat in the House says you're going to lose? I mean, everybody overseas watching now knows Hakeem Jeffries does not have their back. And he's asking, well, where does he get the money for this war? Okay, it was in the $900 billion Pentagon budget that he voted for. I think he's losing it.
The other thing is that Hakeem Jeffries, they talk about, in terms of the cost of the bombing, it's like, well, yes, there's the bill actually passed. But they were the ones also the day after Trump's inauguration saying that he hadn't done enough to bring down the price of eggs. So there's that. I know we don't have a ton
Hakeem,
of time. Jessica,
not so the dream, not so much the dream.
The Democrats, like John Fetterman today on Newsroom, said, but they wanted Iran's leadership to fail. They wanted them to get rid of them, but they just wanted it done in their way. But they had not done it in the past 2 times when they had the presidency.
Yeah, no one disputes that Iran was a massive threat. We talked
Jessica.
about no tears shed for
Jessica.
the Ayatollah or the other, 45 some odd people who were with him day one and the 80-something that died today. I think it's more about the questions of how long is this going to go on? What does it mean? What does success look like? How many American lives are going to be lost? And tying it back to the fact that Donald Trump was someone who ran on successfully multiple times as the quote-unquote peace president and no troops on the ground. I do think calling it an illegal war and going down that route is pretty fruitless and silly. I mean, Secretary Rubio said yesterday we followed all the protocols. I'm looking right now at the War Powers Resolution notification that they submitted to Congress on time on February 28th before the strikes happened. They have been doing it, quote unquote, by the book up until this point, and they will have the vote on it. And there will be some Republicans who will vote against it. Todd Young is signaling that that may happen. But it is not just Democrats that are concerned about this. I already mentioned Todd Young, the Thomas Masseys of the world,
saying that he hadn't done enough to bring down the price of eggs.
died today.
Thanks. I got the sound. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we get. Okay, so Jessica Tarlov is absolutely. She is like the other end of the table. You got like you got the 5, right? But here's Jessica. She's that lone duck floating on the water, like the ugly duckling, because She's not an ugly woman. She's absolutely pretty. But her attitude is garbage. It's liberal. It's leftist. It's hack. It's anti-Trump. It's anti-God. And it's anti-American government. So she like is the offset of the group, and every channel has that. You know, you can't have all 5 of them all agreeing. You got to have at least the opinion of a Democrat, at least one, right? So here we go.
I think it's more about the questions of how long is this going to go on? What does it mean? What does success look like? How many American lives are going to be lost? And tying it back to the fact that Donald Trump was
she's annoying. There's no doubt about it. This Jessica Tarlov or
as
Turlov,
the quote-unquote
still.
vice president and no troops on the ground. I do think calling it
Hey,
an
Randy, good to see you again,
illegal war
buddy.
and going down that
Randy
route
Wagner.
is pretty fruitless and silly. I mean, Secretary Rubio said yesterday, we followed all the protocols. I'm looking right now at the War Powers Resolution notification that they submitted to Congress on time on February 28th before the strikes happened. They have been doing it, quote unquote, by the book up until this point, and they will have the vote on it. And there will be some Republicans who will vote against it. Todd Young is signaling that that may happen. But it is not just Democrats that are concerned about this. You know, I already mentioned Todd Young, the Thomas Massey's of the world, the Rand Pauls of the world. And I think there's a difference between the kind of surgical strikes that we saw with Operation Midnight Hammer or in Venezuela and what this looks like even just a few days in. And
should be back now. Let me know in the chat if it's back.
Intention here and how long we know that Netanyahu will go to make sure that Iran is totally eradicated as we know it.
Emily, you work with a lot of veterans groups, and I wonder how you think that language about "you will fail" lands with either active duty military or the veterans.
So do we got sound back, guys? Is it back? I want to make sure. I think it should be. It's registering here. So, okay, cool.
I can only speak for myself.
Thank you for letting me know, though, because I might not have noticed.
It reads like a betrayal. It reads like a prediction. It reads like there's no faith in those brave men and women who put on the uniform, who have bled under and died under the
left
flag
hates us.
that he rolls his eyes under. Being a loved one of someone who has deployed under Biden and deployed under President Trump, there's a real difference in that stress level, a phenomenal delta between the two. And this is a president who understands the stewardship of our greatest treasure, which is our brave men and women in uniform and in the shadows, and does not take the loss of those 6 American lives lightly.
Hello,
He
Carlo.
takes it with the gravitas that it deserves, and I find it despicable that, for example, behind Schumer, we saw Senator Kaine called it an invasion of Iran. And then when Hakeem Jeffries talks about billions of dollars for bombs, it was under Obama's JCPOA that we paid $1.3 billion to Iran.
But
in
first, breaking
interest
tonight, senior
alone.
White House officials
The principal was
insist.
just $400 million, just. And that somehow is supposed to be divorced from what he's talking about. We still pay, by the way, $83 million per week to the Taliban. We still do.
Wait, what?
Because it's caught up right now in the Senate.
Did I hear that
There's
right?
a lot of machinations
To the
behind
Taliban?
scenes that have fomented those radicals over there, and the thought that somehow it was
Amen.
fine,
God bless
or that it wasn't
President Donald J.
fomenting, that there
Trump.
wasn't
Amen.
an absolute daily and constant risk of Americans' lives and of our allied interests is an absolute lie. And for those Democratic senators and congressmen to pretend that there was somehow a stability.
But first,
that
breaking
our
tonight,
interests
senior
weren't
White House
threatened, that the veneer over the abscess that we've been operating under for all of these years can somehow then be kicked down the can just because everyone else before us didn't have the vertebrae to do it. It is such a slap in the face, and I find it massively disrespectful. I feel, however, no surprise whatsoever from any of them who have never shown a modicum of support for the reasons that people sign up for service and the reasons that President Trump has vowed to protect those
Can I
interests.
just add really quickly, Ruben Gallego, Seth Moulton, Jason Crow, all Democrats, all
this ought to be
veterans
good.
that oppose what's going on here and want to see it debated. Those people know.
You think they
what
agree
it-
with Hakeem Jeffries that it's going to fail?
I have not seen the comments on
Hakeem,
that.
not
But I'm
so
just
much
saying
the
there are
dream
people who serve
Jeffries.
this country and know about sacrifice who are concerned about what we're doing over there.
Sierra's in the house for a
Be sure
Coca-Cola.
to like and subscribe for all the Fox
Moving
News
on to
latest
the next
YouTube
one.
and catch full shows streaming
Remove
now
the groove. Punch it, Chewy. Here we go.
I don't want to brag,
Decloak.
but
Now.
you know they've said this about a lot of things. No other president can do some of the I'm doing. The things I'm doing,
President Trump.
nobody else
Beep.
is going to do it. They say it all the time. Sir, could you do this? You're the only one can do it.
President Trump taking a bit of a victory lap on his second-term record while speaking at a Republican retreat. And I bet the Democrats wish they had someone like that. Instead, they're still being burdened by what has been. Kamala Harris recently turned a funeral for Jesse Jackson political.
Let me just say, I predicted a lot about what's happening right now. I'm not into saying I told you so, but
I told
we
you
did
so.
see it coming.
Yeah.
To understand, as has been said, the beauty that comes after the storm, when we see what is possible and what can be unburdened by what has been.
Been
Speaking of Kamala,
unburdened
it's
by
day
what has
167
been.
of her 107 days book tour, and now some in the party feel like it's time for her to shelve it. A Political report is claiming that the
Shelve
former
it or
VP
shove
is
it.
buying time on a potential 2028
Shove it
run.
or
But
shove it.
conversations with Democrats suggest the party may already be searching for
that's
its
good.
next standard bearer. And who could that be? Well, a new survey claims that Democratic voters want a more normal party, but the forces that rule the left make that unlikely. I think we got to go to Harold.
She is hammered all the
Burns,
time.
you were there at the funeral. Was it political?
That's funny.
No, I mean, people got up and gave a little bit of what they gave, but everyone was there for Reverend Jackson, and
except for her.
And she got into the heart of it. She talked about how she enjoyed working in his first campaign. But
Got into the liquor cabinet.
I don't think there's President Trump. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a healthy view of yourself, and he certainly has maybe more than.
Yeah, but
normal
confidence
healthy
is
view of
one
himself.
thing,
and most
and
presidents do. You expect
arrogance
presidents
is a
to
complete
not be
other of yourself.
Robustly confident. I think I said it yesterday. I think people running for president or people running for public office this cycle need to understand that the electorate is not partisan. So the anti-Trump stuff and the just anti-Democrat stuff is not going to get you elected or reelected this go round. You look at the fact that 55 people are not running in Congress. 34 of them are Republican. So things are going so great. All of them are not older members.
Hey,
who are
let's hear
looking
from
to
the
retire.
BBC a little later.
They just don't want to be there any longer
Just
for a
for
variety
fun.
of other reasons. The electorate is looking for answers and looking for ideas and looking for solutions to the challenges they face every day in their lives. And, I would say to President Trump, if you want to be a war president, Roosevelt and Truman and Reagan, who won the Cold War, I'd go back and study some of those things. And Democrats who want to beat a president in a midterm who's popular, go back and look at the kinds of things that Gingrich did back when he was able to win in '94. On the Republican side, go back and look what Democrats were able to do in '98. These are things that again, will be
I'm peeling
instructive.
garlic
Just
right
the
now. That's why
partisan
I'm
stuff
always
won't
looking
work.
down.
You're not appealing to a partisan electorate. You're appealing to a struggling electorate. So get answers and ideas. I would argue both sides should be doing that.
Kaylee, you've maintained that Kamala Harris is going to run.
Yes.
Anything
Wow.
change your mind here?
Oh, that's
No,
so
because I
great.
think
She's
she looks
running
at the
for
polls
president. Thank
and
you,
she
Jesus.
sees herself at the top,
She's gonna
and that's
lose
very hard.
so
I agree.
bad.
Everyone has a healthy view of themselves in presidential politics, President Trump and Kamala Harris included. So I think she looks at that and she wants to run. I do agree, and you've made the point about donors. Maybe there's going to be challenges with Democratic donors. That could potentially be a nail in a coffin for a Kamala Trump run. Maybe she runs and maybe it's short. But I know the nation is better off that she is not president right now.
Amen.
And look no further than her statements. October 7th, 2024, if you dig through the 60 Minutes footage, not what was aired, but the unaired portions, you find that she was asked who the greatest adversary we have is. She said, well, for different reasons, we should be thoughtful about each. But most recently, obvious one that comes to mind is Iran. Iran has American blood on its hands. So she
A
says
lot
that
of
in
it, over
October
1,000
2024,
people.
And then Sunday she comes out, Donald Trump's dragged us
Since,
into a war people don't want.
47
He has
years
put
ago.
troops in harm's way. So all of a sudden her view of Iran has changed or shifted. That's politics, maybe, but she would not have had the courage to do this. She wouldn't have had the courage to do
Sarah
Maduro.
tired.
You had Trump took out Maduro in January, took out the Ayatollah in February. He's averaging one dictator per month at this rate, and the world's better off for it.
I think that obviously there are many
One
Democrats who
dictator a
like
month,
everyone to be talking
yeah.
about them.
Right.
But I have a feeling that most of the conversation is going to be about one Democrat in particular, or at least for the next few months, and that is James Tallarico in Texas, because he is going
Oh,
to
yeah. I
become-
heard about
the
this
Republicans will try to
Tallarico
make sure
guy.
that he's the one
Let me
everyone's
stop the
talking about.
press here for
Hey,
just a
Sean
minute.
Hannity here.
Oh,
Hey,
perfect
click here
timing.
to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Okay, so what's with this Tallarico guy? Can somebody tell me? I've been hearing all kinds of things about him, but I haven't taken the time to go check him out like in detail yet.
And the Democrats and media are ramping up their resistance to Trump's attacks on
Oh, I
Iran.
hate it when the
Chuck
screen
Schumer
does
and
that to me.
Jeffries voicing their pessimism and already forecasting failure. Watch.
Wait,
The American
let's
people
watch this one.
want us to focus on making their life better, making their life more affordable, not
No,
getting
I don't think we
involved
did.
in another endless war in the Middle
Yeah,
East.
wolf in
that
sheep's
is
clothing.
going to
Okay, I'm
end in
gonna
failure.
research him
Wars without
over
clear
the next couple
objectives do
days.
not remain small. They get
God,
bigger, bloodier,
how can he
longer,
say
and more
that?
expensive.
Let me just say something
This
really
is
quick. What the
not a
scripture says,
necessary
not me.
war,
The
it's a
scripture.
war of choice.
You know what? Yeah, we watched this video, didn't we? Okay, so we can go ahead and get to the next one. The scripture says that we are the bride of Christ in heaven. Okay, in heaven, once we get raptured out of here, if we're born again and we make it, the Bible says in heaven there's no marriage nor given in marriage. There's no male, there's no female. Why? Blind Bartimaeus could see it even before Jesus healed him. It's that obvious. Because in heaven there's no need for sexual reproduction nor sexual pleasure. Has nothing to do with non-binary. Yeah, I'm going to check this guy out and have a field day. I'm going to make a video on him and have a field day with scripture. If we could back it with scripture, tear him apart.
Here to live now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. Day number 11 of this ongoing conflict in Iran. And although President Trump has said there are no reports of mines being placed in the Strait of Hormuz, those threats, those just reports are causing issues with this major energy artery there. And you can see this from Central Command saying the forces, they have eliminated multiple Iranian naval vessels, including 16 mine layers.
Oh, wow,
near
that's
that
good.
Strait of Hormuz. As President Trump said, there would be likely more to follow, saying the U.S. military has completely destroyed some of those mine-laying vessels. Additionally, they're saying we are using the same technology and missile capabilities deployed there in the Strait of Hormuz against drug traffickers, like that were permanently eliminated any boat or ship attempting to mine Hormuz Strait. So some of these
send any and all information you can possibly send to my email on Senator Talarico.
Let's be joined right now by maritime expert,
Can you do that for me?
Shipping expert, Campbell University professor Sal Mercogliano. Sal, thank you so much for joining us. And just at the outset of this conflict, you kind of pointed to mines.
Yes, send me any and all information to my email address about Senator Talarico.
Basically a theory, but that's still deterring vessels, isn't it?
I would be happy to send your email.
It is, Andy, and thanks for having me. I think mines are really the threat that everybody feared the most. And in truth, you don't have to lay one mine to cause the problem. Just the threat of it
it's on my other Alexa.
Consternation among shipping.
Computer,
As you know, since February
home screen.
28th, what we've seen happen
My other
is
Alexa
shipping
will
is
send that
basically
right to
locked
me.
up. I mean, it stopped moving largely through the straits.
Talarico.
We've had a couple of small ships come through. We've had a couple of ships that have sailed onto the area. But in truth, what we're seeing right now is global shipping has come to almost a full stop. And this represents 20% of global oil. This represents 20% of liquefied natural gas. And probably most disconcerting, it represents about a third of the world's fertilizer and the bunker fuel for a lot of ships out there. So, I mean, this is going to have an astronomical effect on global economics if we cannot get the strait open again.
And we know that President Trump has said there are no reports. They're not hearing that there are any mines out there, but that is deterrence enough. Exactly how would Iran lay mines? Exactly kind of formulate this for me. How dangerous are they out there?
Well, we have different styles of mine, and I think one of the things that a lot of people are doing is looking at kind of old-fashioned ones they've laid back in the 80s and the 90s, the kind of the traditional, you know, big, huge floating ball with the horns on it. That's the kind of your traditional contact mine. But in truth, mines have changed, much like we've seen mine warfare change on land.
He's actually a preacher at a church.
Mines, very
that almost makes it worse. But then again, we wouldn't want him in
mines
government
that
either.
Move almost like drones. Mines that allow ships to sail over a few times and then the next one. So, I mean, really, really dangerous types of mines.
Yeah, I'm going to look that joker up.
Difficult to
I want to know
too.
everything.
And one of the things that the U.S. has just done, is changed out its minesweeping fleet in the
past
Persian Gulf.
where he grew up at,
Minesweepers,
parents.
old wooden ones that have been there for like 35 years were removed. And now we have three new littoral combat ships with these new minesweeping drones on board. So the U.S. has minesweeping capability in the Gulf. But the question is going to be is really these different styles of mines. It's a very difficult prospect because you can't just sweep the first time going through. You have to continually be on the lookout for them.
Yeah, it's not just a one-time sort of deal with this. And we talk about this mines being out there, just the threat being a deterrence. But if a ship, if a vessel, if a major oil tanker hits one of these mines,
we appreciate that, Lambert. God bless you for that.
Is it just a huge traffic jam? What happened?
This nation was founded on the gospel
actually,
of Jesus
an oil
Christ.
tanker hitting a
We need
mine
to keep
is
it that
not
way.
actually the most dangerous thing in the world. Back in 1987, during the first escort operations, the SS Bridgeton, a fully loaded oil tanker, actually hit a mine, and the ship's crew wasn't quite aware of what happened until they saw a plume of water come over. Tankers are so big that really didn't do much damage. Matter of fact, a fully loaded oil tanker actually dumps oil out and gets lighter in the water. But there are types of vessels that can damage it. And more importantly, there are sophisticated types of mines, especially these bottom influence mines. Mines that blow up under a ship can cause a lot of physical damage to a ship. And we have some ships that sail through this area, particularly liquefied petroleum and liquefied natural gas carriers, where fire would be the big concern we have. And obviously, an oil tanker with a hole in the side, fully loaded, we have environmental issues all at play there.
And if they did put them out, and no reports that they have so far, you mentioned anchored, but could they just be drifting there in the strait? Is that a possibility?
Oh, we definitely saw that in the 1990-91 war when Iraq laid mines. And one of the things that happened is they would use these anchored mines, but the anchors would give way. And so you had drifting mines. I was out in the Persian Gulf at the time.
Hello to you. We're in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, just across the water from Iran, which, according to the Pentagon, has faced the most
some
intense.
Sophisticated mines that hold position. They have motors. They have electronic devices.
Sorry about
with GPS.
that.
They can determine where they're at. Others can basically move in patterns. Again, much like what we saw in the Iraq War and Afghanistan with IEDs, you know, these improvised explosive devices.
But
Mines
first,
are
breaking tonight,
explosive
senior
devices,
White
but they're
House
not
officials
improvised. They're really
insist
well
wild
thought out.
fluctuations
And
in
the question is
oil
going to be
prices-
the sophisticated mines that Iran has, and more importantly, their ability to deploy them, because you don't need a traditional mine layer. You can do it on small boats, and you can actually drop them from aerial projectiles like rockets.
Yeah, that is interesting. And obviously, potentially, they're having those kind of minesweepers out there, but that also takes some time. We're also hearing that the U.S. Navy might get involved. And there were some interesting conversations taking place, interesting developments today, as Chris Wright, the Energy Secretary, posted that the U.S. military was escorting the first oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. The White House pushing
Rob
back.
Shriver, good to see you, buddy. He's got my last name. I'm not sure how related we are, but I'm not sure if at all, but he's got a great last name.
About this
I'm proud of that.
exact fact, saying that an oil tanker
Welcome in, Rob. Good to
Strait
see
of
you.
Hormuz, escorted by the U.S. Navy, may be on PlayStation. That's one of the members of parliament in Iran. What would it look like, and how logistically challenging would it be if the U.S. Navy does get involved in this way?
But first, breaking
Well,
tonight.
I think the Navy is really the one that commercial firms are looking at right now. They want to see some movement. They want to know that the strait is safe, either from mines or from unmanned aerial vehicles and surface vehicles.
Okay,
and
we'll be here
weaponry,
still,
missiles.
Sharon.
So, I mean, they're really looking toward the U.S. Navy to do it. As we saw this morning, General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs Staff, fielded a question about this specifically, and said that he is developing plans that the military Central Command, the U.S. Fifth Fleet, are really standing by to be tasked to do this. I think the Navy is going to be the one who's going to have to really uncork the Strait of Hormuz. So we may see, you know, conventional like World War II style escorts. I think that's a very low probability to happen. I think what we would see, however, is U.S. Navy vessels going in, sweeping the area, minesweepers with destroyers, providing almost like a cordon, a defense screen of ships, and then allow some of the ships that are in the Persian Gulf to come out. There are 5 U.S. flag vessels that are stuck in the Gulf. Let some fully loaded vessels out and bring some empties in to go hit the facilities. Because again, one of the things we don't want to see happen is oil facilities shut down in Kuwait and Bahrain and Qatar. We really want to see that artery open back up.
Yeah, uncorked might be the apt term to use when we're talking about this that you mentioned there, Sal, but we talk about resources and logistics of everything going on. If the U.S. Navy is involved, if they're kind of stationed there, like you mentioned, kind of chauffeuring these vessels through, is that another target that Iran potentially could be looking at? And could they use some of their assets to do this? Because more ships, maybe more targets?
I think so, because again, it's not just a matter of really getting into the Strait of Hormuz, because having sailed through the strait, it's a narrow spot. But when you get out in the Persian Gulf is a narrow strait of water, actually. So, I mean, you're talking about probably having to provide protection all the way up to Kuwait, down to the Strait of Hormuz. That's 500 nautical miles. It's a big, huge area. And obviously, the U.S. is going to be hesitant to put warships back into that area. However, if you want to get commercial ships moving, you really have got to prove that the area is free and open for navigation. And that's going to require really the Navy to go in there and to go in harm's way, which is what the Navy does throughout its history.
And we've seen several vessels kind of sneak through, and we're talking about the designation, the flags they're flying, how they're saying, because there was potentially a ship that had a China owner and crew, and that snuck through. How are vessels, how are companies kind of trying to manage that to kind of skirt some of what's going on with Iran to get through the strait?
Yeah, so we've seen a couple of, tactics. We've seen some Iranian ships come out. What you mentioned before with the China owners, we saw that extensively back in the Red Sea, where the Chinese owners would do that. I counted today 3 bulk carriers coming out with China owner or China crew on board. Really important, the bulk carriers, they're carrying fertilizer. About a third of the world's fertilizer comes out of this region. So we're seeing that happen. We had a couple of Greek tankers. Greek ship owners are the biggest holders of ships in the world.
Ships full
we
of
saw one company in particular
fertilizer. That sounds like it's
out, and we
explosive.
had a couple of dark fleet tankers,
a lot of gas in there,
make the run through there. So it's been kind of what we kind of expected, is start seeing kind of individual ships coming through. A lot of this is high risk, but also a lot of it's high reward, particularly for that Greek tank owner. He sees an opportunity for some money here. But I do think if we're going to see the vast movement, this kind of small movement isn't enough really to get cargo moving. We're going to need to get beyond just a few ships a day back up to the 125 that we saw happening prior to February 28th.
And I know you've been wandering kind of feeds like this, showcasing the Strait of Hormuz, those vessels. But another interesting kind of note about this is potentially satellite navigation kind of interference taking place, where some of the ships are not in the location they say they are. What does that signal to you, Sal?
Well, the Iranians have been jamming and spoofing like crazy. I mean, you'll see in feeds like for marine traffic, ships clustered together. You'll get ships on land, for example. I mean, you get to see this. A lot of this has to do with Iranians really wanting to make it difficult should the ships try to navigate through the area. A lot of ships rely on global
we get a lot of
positioning
people
system,
watching.
much
I didn't
like
realize we had
around with global
242
positioning
right
system.
now.
Ships do that too. But there are other methods of navigation. There's terrestrial and celestial navigation. They have radar. But again, it goes to
guiding by the stars,
tactic used by the
navigating
Iranians
by the stars
to try to harass shipping, whether it's physical harassing or messing around with their navigation and positioning systems. Again, another tactic used by the Iranians quite extensively, actually, throughout the whole Persian Gulf.
Yeah, that is very interesting. It's kind of fascinating to see.
Hey, Brother Ken, good to see you again, buddy.
Many vessels are in this very straight and very narrow kind of location in there. Over the next several days, Sal, what are you going to be focusing on? Because there's going to be kind of reports coming out whether or not mines were actually laid, whether the U.S. Navy escorts them, how they're doing the mine sweeping. What other things are you monitoring the next several days to indicate some of what's going on?
Well, really watching to see if we get further movement by Chinese vessels. I think that's going to be a really interesting. We're seeing ships come out. We haven't seen ships go in, and that's going to be a really interesting one. If you start seeing ships go in, that's a big indication that things are getting ready to break here. I think the other thing we're really starting to watch is diversions. This is very akin, Andy, to what happened when Ever Given got stuck in the Suez, and we saw ships piling up on each side of the Suez. And we got to a point 6 days in where we were beginning to think, okay, this is an inflection point. Will ships start diverting to other places? We may see that. We may see ships outside that Persian Gulf start going other places, go get oil, go get gas, go get natural gas someplace else. Sharon. And that could be a permanent, really, reduction in the production that comes out of this region. We're also watching the other impacts. We're seeing impacts in bunker fuel, the fuel for vessels going up. We're seeing aviation fuel going up. That's going to obviously impact air transport.
I'm sure it all will for a while.
Just today, obviously the impact diesel fuel is having around the world. So really, it's those kind of add-on, knock-on effects. 20% of global shipping, you're going to see an impact on, unfortunately, in the pocketbooks and in the wallets of everyone in the United States, but also worldwide.
Outside. Does it take just one vessel potentially hitting a mine, having a snag there in the strait to back it up for some time? Is it just that possible, that likely?
It is possible, but again, I go back to the tanker war of the 1980s, where we had 411 ships hit,
It's kind of ironic
55
we're under
lost,
a winter
several
storm
hundred
warning, but now we
mariners
got thunder
killed.
outside.
You know, it's a very valuable area, the Persian Gulf. It's, you know, we had the diversion around the Red Sea, but there was a diversion area. We can go around Africa to do that. There really is no diversion around the Persian Gulf. Yes, there's a pipeline in Saudi Arabia. There's a pipeline through the UAE. But to get the bulk of the oil and the natural gas and the fertilizer, you got to head in through that strait. And I think we'll see it again, you know, ships heading through there. Now, it could be really expensive. We'll see war risk go up for the ships, and we could see attacks. But let's not forget, the Iranians have been attacking ships now for almost a decade, going all the way back into the 2010s. We had some very visible attacks in 2019. They're still holding 2 Greek ships they grabbed back in 2022 in Bandar Abbas.
That long?
So, I mean, this has been a long, ongoing conflict with Iran.
Yeah, and the U.S. saying they've taken out some 16 those mine-laying vessels. And this is the video from CENTCOM. And I want to ask you about this because you mentioned that some of these don't have to be sophisticated vessels to lay these boats. They can kind of lay mines or they can use aerial assets. Is this killing 2 birds with 1 stone for the United States? That are these boats only used, these vessels only used for mine laying? Are they used for something else, just from your perspective?
Well, a lot of those boats are of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, so they were used to harass shipping in and around the area. But, you know, the danger with mine laying is anything can be a mine layer. And you know, having sailed through this region, the vessel that proliferates this region is a small wooden vessel called a dhow. It's almost like a bicycle in Manhattan. You know, they're kind of everywhere, and you don't pay a lot of mind to them. But, you know, in a dhow, it's a fishing vessel, but it could be from anywhere. But a dhow can easily carry these mines and drop them off the stern. So it's good to be eliminating the naval vessels, really getting rid of the conventional threat. But as we've learned in 20 years dealing in Afghanistan and in Iraq, it's the unconventional, it's the asymmetric. And that's really the big challenge that makes this war much different, as we're seeing with attacks by drones, both aerial and surface, and by the threat that Iran has to attack shipping along the entire length of the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, there are no bike lanes there through the Strait of Hormuz. Sal, we talk a lot about what's happening, what's not happening. Is there any other misinformation you're seeing out there, you're hearing, that you want to dispel that may not be actually factual from your perspective?
Well, I think, you know, it's the lack of data sometimes that people are doing. So, you know, if there's no AIS transmission, how many ships are going through? You know, it's being caught. We're seeing ships that, you know, were in the Persian Gulf. They will reappear on AIS later.
Grow up.
So we've got a good count of
I
how
love
many
my
ships are
paneling
coming
from
in and out
1975. Thank
of
you.
this
It's just as
region.
old as I am.
It's going to be
51
really
years
interesting
old.
to see if it plays out much like the Red Sea, where we saw, you know, diminished
Some
shipping
people's
going
children,
through,
I
but
tell
we
ya.
get some kind of, you know, smaller vessels, vessels that are allied with China and Russia, which have a better relationship with Iran going through. I think the Chinese are really the one I'm watching right now. China is so dependent on the Persian Gulf for so many key commodities. What does China do in this area? They have some naval vessels in the area. They've got some vessels sitting, waiting to go into the Persian Gulf.
It's kind of interesting to look at that map right there with what's able to move right now and what's kind of just sitting stationary.
Into the area. India, too, another country that has a lot of influence in this area, really want to make a role into it. So, you know, there's so many variables at play. I think one of the biggest things is that this aerial campaign that the U.S. and Israel launched has unintended consequences. And I think that's what we see materializing right here with its impact on global shipping.
Could another country step up and potentially help and assist in this operation to get vessels through there? Is there any other navies out there, any other allies that could assist?
Well, Britain would, but if it wasn't for Starmer, he's a
Charles de Gaulle
terrible
battle group
PM.
left the Baltic. It's in the Mediterranean.
Oh, great.
It's going to cut through the Suez
The
here
French are going to
fairly
help.
soon. It's a sizable
Who would have
force,
ever
about
thought
10
the
ships.
French?
For the past 2 years,
Before the
Marine
British.
Nationale, the French Navy, has been escorting ships through the
That doesn't
Red
make a
Sea,
lick of
but
sense.
they've largely been French
Historically, it
ships of
doesn't.
this-
Well,
of
I mean, the French were
National
there to
Shipping
help us
Line,
with Washington when we
CMA-CGM.
became a nation.
So we may see
The French
ships of
helped
the
us
French
become a
Navy
nation.
arrive in the region and start
And they even gave us
escorting
the
ships
Statue of Liberty.
through the Persian Gulf. But I don't expect them to, you know,
But
escort
usually
every
the
vessel.
Brits
I would
are the
envision they
first,
would
but now with
probably
Starmer,
target
computer.
ships closely associated to them, or potentially
Screen
the
off.
European Union. European Union ran Operation Speeds in the Red Sea and the Bab el Mandab. We may see something similar up here in the Strait of Hormuz by the European Union or other nations, perhaps Korea, maybe Japan, getting involved in this.
Yeah, we've seen some
Hey,
European
the
allies get
Japanese.
involved, but
Or
a
can I
little
call
bit
them
slower
Japs?
than you
Oh, wait a
might
minute.
anticipate.
This isn't
So
19.
we'll see if the French
This
there
isn't
do
41
on
to
their
45.
part,
Never mind.
uncorking the Strait of Hormuz, as
I
will
can't
still
help it. I call them
return one
Japs
more
either
time.
way.
All right, Sal Mercogliano, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your insight.
You study World War II enough, you can't help but say Japs. It's like a habit. You don't want to, but, you know. All right, President Donald J. Trump, I do believe he's in this one as well. Let's go ahead and hit it.
Senior White House officials insist
Gotta
wild
decloak it
fluctuations in oil prices and the major increase in gasoline prices since the start of the Iran conflict are only temporary. Oil was on another roller coaster again today, as was the stock market. Iran continues to threaten to choke off traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, where normally up to a quarter of the world's oil flows through every day. It is a global choke point. Also tonight, the Pentagon reports 140 service
Gen
members
X strong.
have
That's
been
right,
wounded
Crypto.
during the
Gen
Iran
X
conflict.
strong. I'll say
7
yes and
have
amen to
died
that.
in action. All of this comes amid increasing concerns from both sides of the aisle about the duration of the conflict. Senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich starts us off tonight live from the North Lawn. Good evening, Jackie.
Good evening, Brett. The president said within the last few hours, the U.S. military has destroyed 10 inactive mines laying in boats and ships. CENTCOM just put out a statement saying the U.S. took out multiple Iranian naval vessels, including 16 mine layers. All of this after the president warned Iran and everyone else earlier today not to put any mines in the Strait of Hormuz or else face violent consequences. The White House closely monitoring oil and gas prices.
Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term.
The White House says President Trump and his energy team are closely watching the markets and drawing up options to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. But so far, the administration has not used the U.S. Navy to escort tankers through the strait, despite the energy secretary saying so in a quickly deleted post.
I haven't had a chance to talk to the energy secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option.
Wall Street didn't wait for verification to respond to good news.
We went from $70 a barrel a week ago to almost 120, and now, like you said, we're back below 80.
Prices came back up when the post came down. The markets hanging on the administration's every word, but gas prices will be slower to respond.
It always is going to take longer to come back down. When prices take off, they usually lose money at the tank, and they have to make that up on the way down.
Democrats seizing on that.
Gas prices are going through the roof. Tariffs still here. More problems are going to happen because of all of this.
This president promised affordability, and he promised no wars.
Which has some Republicans who opposed U.S. intervention spooked.
People don't want to call it
war.
war.
tired of hearing
There's
say
still
that.
kinetic
No
action
wars.
that
We've been at
causes
war
oil
with
to be over
Iran forever.
I think
We
you're going
are
to see
to be
a disastrous
destroyed.
election.
The White House continuing to face questions
That's
about
okay.
how long
There's no
it could
sense of
last.
complaining over the Democrats. They're never going to change.
Initial timeline was about 4 to 6 weeks to achieve the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury. But ultimately, the operations will end when the commander-in-chief determines the military objectives have been met, fully realized.
Buttoning up the messaging is all the more important amid the White House's broader affordability push. Tomorrow, the president's traveling to Ohio and Kentucky to tout his economic achievements and talk about lowering prices. Both states have Senate seats up for grabs this November.
Yeah, Tucker doesn't seem to have much love for Israel.
That President Trump will remove Anthropic's AI technology.
I'd never seen him like this when he was working for Fox, but then again, you know,
Brett,
he was
the White
working
House
for
is not
Fox. Now he's on
confirming
his
just
own,
yet,
and there's
but
just
both
no love for
CBS
Israel
and
there.
Axios are reporting the president will
Which
issue
really
an executive
stinks because
order
I
on this. It
really
could
like
come as
Tucker
soon as this
Carlson.
week.
What a sad
Yesterday,
disappointment,
Anthropic
man.
sued the federal government for its designation as a supply chain risk, seeking a reversal on First Amendment grounds. The company lost its contract with the Pentagon after refusing to remove its guardrails against using its AI for autonomous weapons and domestic surveillance. Brett.
Jackie Heinrich live on the North Lawn. Jackie, thank you. You've been hearing that Iran's inventory of missiles and other weapons is rapidly decreasing. The U.S. is facing a similar, not as dramatic or drastic a problem.
Okay,
Chief
but our
National
industrial
Security Correspondent
might,
Jennifer Griffin has our
we
update
could run
tonight.
out right now
5,000
and still
targets
be okay.
struck, 50 Iranian naval vessels sunk, but Iran continues attacks on Gulf countries.
Are they more formidable than
Yeah,
you
those guys are
anticipated,
idiots.
General?
I mean, I think they're fighting, and I
Heck, we
respect
call
that,
countries
but
around them
I
how
don't think they're
stupid.
more formidable than what we thought.
The two biggest pressures on President Trump, the rising cost of oil and the strain on stockpiles of expensive munitions. The U.S. military used more than 150 of the 534 THAAD interceptors during last summer's
Lambert,
Iranian
that's a very good
operation.
possibility.
The 2026
Yeah, if he didn't
defense
have the
budget
Holy
adds
Ghost, he
only
was defenseless.
37 more to the arsenal.
We risk getting into a very precarious situation, one that could invite or tempt.
I mean, for the most
somebody like
part, you're
China.
pretty much
President Xi of
defenseless.
China has set
Of course, God's will be
2027 as
done,
the year
but
in which his military should be ready to take Taiwan by force if necessary. The U.S. Navy will need missile defense systems for its bases throughout the Pacific, its Navy warships and long-range missiles to defend Taiwan and deter China. President Trump says the U.S. military has a limitless stockpile of weapons, but also met with key defense contractors last Friday and pressed them to quadruple production.
Oh, sure. Why not? It's wartime. I'd have them quadrupled too.
Ammunition, which is really what we're using in this war. And we have really
Doesn't
an
that make
unlimited
sense?
supply.
The Pentagon spent $5.6 billion in munitions during the first 2 days of the assault, according to lawmakers briefed on Capitol Hill, and will need at least a $50 billion supplemental from Congress.
We need to be all in and finish the job. I've never been more impressed.
There's
with
your
military
man right
operation
there
than I
for the
am
defense
at
industry.
Victory.
Or no,
I emerged
war
from this
industry.
briefing
There's your man, Lindsey Graham.
dissatisfied and angry, frankly.
He'll get us the weapons.
As I have from any past
Who's this guy?
briefing in my 15 years in the Senate.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky sent a team of Ukrainian counter-drone experts to the Middle East to show the Gulf states and Jordan how to defend against Iran's Shahed drones, which Russia fires at Ukraine almost every night. Axios first reported a Ukrainian team offered to provide the U.S. with its counter-drone technology to defend bases in the Middle East during a meeting last August at the White House between Presidents Trump and Zelensky, but the Pentagon did not follow up, Brett.
Jen, we just did that Q&A about Anthropic. The Pentagon military is still using Anthropic.
Not only using
More Daddy
they're
Lindsay.
depending
I
on
like
it
that
for the
one.
targeting
Yeah,
out
he's
this,
a wolf
as
in
part of
sheep's
this Iran
clothing.
conflict. You can't
tell
just
you,
flip a
he's something
switch
else.
and remove
Ooh, that's
the
onions,
AI,
and those
the
hurt your
artificial
eyes.
intelligence that Anthropic has provided. And from what we know, it is still the leading edge of artificial intelligence.
Okay, one to follow. Jen, thanks.
Speaking of AI.
Academy, along with Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City.
And we already watched
is
this
the
one.
5.
How about some word from the BBC about the war? Not word of God. I kind of said that like the word. I'm so used to bringing the word. It came out that way.
Day of bombing so far in the Middle East war. Tonight, Donald Trump has turned up the pressure once again, warning if any mines have been placed in the Strait of Hormuz. That's the narrow waterway through which 20% of the world's oil supply is exported.
Speaking of Macy, Macy I like her. She's the one that said, but she put legislation in to pass a bill giving the death penalty to sex offenders who sexually assault minors. Let me find that video.
Consequences at a level never seen before. Well, strikes across Iran have been relentless today, with these pictures showing smoke after
5,000 plus
in the
strikes
Quds
today
district
in
of the
one
capital,
day.
Tehran. A U.S. human rights group says more than 1,245 people have died since the conflict began, including at least 194 children.
Let me see.
The
Who
UN
was I was
estimates
thinking
around
of somebody else.
100,000 people have lost their homes, while the Iranian Red Crescent reports more than 4,000 civilian buildings have been destroyed. Here in the United Arab Emirates, an Iranian drone strike has caused a fire at the biggest oil refinery in the Middle East and one of the biggest in the world. The state oil company had to shut down operations at the Al Ruwais site, which produces more than 900,000 barrels of oil every day.
Oh, Nancy
Mace. And latest energy facility
Nancy
targeted
Mace.
by Iran in the Gulf region. The human cost of Operation Epic Fury includes 140 U.S. military personnel who've been injured. That's according to the Pentagon. 7 have died. Meanwhile, the UK's response to the conflict continues to ramp up, with the warship HMS Dragon leaving Portsmouth en route for Cyprus. We'll have more on that a little later. And we're going to take a look at the damage being caused to Iran's war machine. But first, Jeremy Bowen, our international editor, has our top story tonight on the 11th day of the war.
Iranians for or against the regime are on the wrong end of a terrifying onslaught. Look at the smoke on the horizon. Those are big attacks on important targets. Iran's infrastructure, civilian as well as state, is being destroyed. In Tehran, rescue workers are at full stretch, looking for bodies, hoping for survivors. This was an apartment building hit yesterday.
Yep, Nancy Mace, Congresswoman from South Carolina.
But civilians were killed
Death
here.
penalties for sexual assault.
The Americans, for all their overwhelming power, have not spelled out a specific political objective for this war.
They would get the death penalty.
In Washington, the defense secretary simply says victory is coming and many more bombs.
Today will be yet again
what is
our
Gabriel,
most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined and better than ever.
This is the airport at Kerman in southeastern Iran. And this was from a family car in a town near Tehran. At different times, Donald Trump has mused that all this is about regime change.
Yeah, that guy was in here
or about
before and we kicked
unconditional
him
surrender.
out. I know how to
install
keep
a
him out,
compliant
though. I got a new trick I
or
learned.
to encourage a popular uprising.
All I got to do is add his name to
At the border with
banned
Turkey,
words for
a
the
steady
channel,
stream
and
of
they won't be able to
Iranians
come
had
back in.
decided not to risk their lives in the bombing, waiting to find out.
Sometimes we felt like we are dying, but it was nearby.
Yes, a lot of bombing.
It's got to be scary. We've never experienced that here,
Even
except for 9/11.
Around 500 meters around our house, something.
Well, and the Oklahoma
some
bombing
bomb
too.
dropped and then.
But like as far as
building
bombs
shattered.
being dropped on us, it's never happened
In
except
Florida
Pearl
on
Harbor.
Monday, Donald Trump, with his envoy Steve Witkoff, was not focusing on
Continental
regime
United
change,
States has never
as
been
the
hit like
Iranian
that, not by
regime is much
bomb
more
after
resilient
bomb
than they
after bomb.
expected.
It's awful.
The economic consequences of the war are hitting American voters, so it's time to shape a victory narrative.
The stated objectives for Operation Epic Fury remain the same. Destroy the terrorist regime's ballistic missiles, raise their Iranian missile industry to the ground, ensure their terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region, and ensure that Iran never obtains a nuclear weapon. When they are achieved, then it will ultimately be up to the president.
You're still
to
with
end
us,
this
Sharon. Yes.
operation.
Yep. I see you.
Sirens were sounding again in Jerusalem. Israel has its own agenda, destroying the regime in Iran and sending its army across the border wire into Lebanon, responding to rockets from Hezbollah, Iran's Lebanese ally, with an intensifying and broad assault deep inside Lebanon itself. The fear there is a repeat of the destruction inflicted on Gaza. Israel says it's making the region safer.
We are now witnessing Iran's savage attacks against almost all the countries in the region. This is how it behaves without a nuclear umbrella. Imagine what it could do if it had one.
In the Gulf, foreigners were waiting for evacuation. This
Here's the
was in
thing.
Riyadh,
Iran
the
could
Saudi
nuke
capital.
Israel and
Iran's
not care about the
strategy of
fallout that
spreading
would
the
blow
war to
back at
America's
Israel or
allies
at Iran.
is inflicting economic
They wouldn't care if
pain.
their
This
own
was
people
in
got
Dubai.
poisoned from radiation.
And for
They
the
wouldn't even
US,
care.
complicating the
One
politics of
reason they
fighting
can't
the
have a
war.
bomb.
At the UN, Iran's foreign minister reflected deep-seated defiance in the Islamic regime in Tehran towards the US and Israel.
Their intention is clear: to terrorize civilians, massacre innocent people, and cause maximum destruction and suffering.
The center of the war remains Tehran, where casualties are rising. This will finish, perhaps soon, but the evidence of
Colin,
past
hello.
conflicts is that
Don't
it's
go
harder
crazy,
to
or
end
Colton,
wars
don't go crazy.
that do not have a precise political objective from the outset. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News.
BBC News.
Well, as ever, for The View from America, let's join Sarah Smith, who's live
we
in
still got
Washington.
time, mate.
Sarah, we saw oil prices spike yesterday because of the conflict, and
Let's see
Donald
here.
Trump
What else we
tonight,
got?
he's tried to suggest he's got a remedy.
Yeah, I think it is ever more clear just how worried they are in Washington, and President Trump is, about the effect this conflict is having on the price of oil. And he's trying to reassure markets it's not going to be a long, drawn-out war. And this evening, he was posting on social media, focusing on the Straits of Hormuz. Now, that's the narrow waterway in the Gulf through which so much of the world's oil has to pass through. And he posted on social media saying, if Iran has put any mines in the Hormuz Strait, and we have no reports of them doing so, we want them removed immediately. So he's saying that the US doesn't...
Okay, BBC, you're out of here. All right, let's bring up this one. I know some people don't like Hannity, but here we go. I mean, I don't know. I haven't listened to a whole lot of Hannity lately. I used to listen to him when I was at ABI in 2005, and I actually enjoyed him, but that was back in 2005. From what I hear from him now, I don't seem to have a problem with him, but, you know, I don't know. People change. Look at Tucker Carlson. I thought he was legit, and I got to admit, he's not too legit to quit saying. He needs to grow up.
Joining us now, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Well, I kind of figure you pissed off at least half of Western Europe and most of the Middle East last night, and probably half of America.
Hey, what's up,
anyway.
WWZ?
So I'll give you another chance.
Michael Savage.
But
isn't he a wrestler?
My interview with Steve Witkoff, I think, gets to the heart of the matter.
Wait a minute, isn't it a rock singer
And
named
that
Michael
is-
Savage?
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it does. And, you know, I'm not trying to piss anybody off. I'm just trying to be honest. I've thought for a long time that the Iranian regime, if they had a nuclear weapon, would use it. The single best thing President Trump did, and the most important thing since 1979 regarding the Iranian regime, was to send Steve and Jared to try to get a deal. If they really wanted peaceful nuclear power, Donald Trump would have delivered. He would have done it for free. What did we learn during these negotiations? They said no.
Okay.
And the biggest dumbass move in the history of the Iranian regime was to tell Steve and Jared, oh, by the way, we have 460 kilograms of 60% uranium that could make 10 bombs. They thought they were talking to Obama and Biden. And if Obama and Biden's negotiators heard that, they would have wet their pants.
Next
They'd
up
run back to
on
Obama
deck
and
is
Biden.
Laura
Oh my
Ingraham.
God, we've got to
She
do a
just
deal.
was
They're on the verge
on
of a
an hour
nuclear
ago,
weapon. What did Trump do? He said, very interesting. When they told him that they're weeks away from having enough enriched uranium to make 10 bombs, Trump went the other way. So what happened here is that when President Trump understood they were that close to having a nuclear weapon, he acted, and thank God he did. Now, after Midnight Hammer, when we blew up their enrichment facilities,
Ayatollah's
what did we
besties.
learn?
Oops. That's
They
the
went
focus of
back into
tonight's
the
act.
enrichment business. These people are homicidal maniacs. They want a nuclear weapon, and they would use it. They're religious Nazis. But the most important thing
absolutely
said,
are.
and-
No
and-
doubt.
and
I
this
got to
whole
agree with
episode
him on
was
that
on your
one.
show tonight, when Steve Witkoff tells the world that the Iranians admitted to him they had enough 60% enriched uranium to make 10 bombs. There is no commercial purpose for uranium beyond 20%. You don't go to 60% unless you're trying to make a bomb. You can have nuclear power without enrichment, but you can't have a nuclear weapon without enrichment.
It's
so when
crazy.
They told
It's
Donald
crazy
Trump
how
that,
humans
he
figured out
did
how to
the
split the
opposite of
atom
what
and
Obama
create the
Biden
microchip.
did. He set in
Obviously,
motion
God was involved
an
there
end
because
to the
of
regime's
prophecy, but
quest for a
still.
nuclear weapon. It was the single dumbest thing Iran could have done, is to tell us how much material they had that could make 10 weapons, believing that Trump was Obama and Biden. What did they learn? Trump is not Obama and Biden. So why did we act? We had to. If we waited much longer, they would have gone to 90% and the world would be held hostage. You worry about gas prices? Let me tell you what the world would be like if Iran had 10 nuclear weapons. It would be miserable. They'd hold us all.
Yeah, what was it that that Eisenhower said after the war, Second World War? He said, "Beware the military-industrial complex," because before America never had any kind of, for example, case in point, before the Second World War, just before Pearl Harbor, we were the 17th largest military in the world. I think Switzerland and Poland had bigger armies than we did. And next thing you know, the industrial might of the United States absolutely wrecks Japan. Yamamoto said, we can run wild for 6 months. And then after that, I'm afraid we've awakened a sleeping giant. In fact, he said that before. He said we could run wild for 6 months when he was attaché to the United States to the United States government for Japan in the 1930s. Crazy what the United States is capable of. And people complain, well, bless God, we're using our weapons. We're going to be defenseless. Well, it's wartime. And we can create the bombs faster and quicker than any other country. Guarantee it. Even faster than China.
Hostage. Now, after President Trump understood they...
But I'd rather us not be at war for very long. I got grandchildren. I've got children.
were that close to having a nuclear weapon, he acted. And thank God he did. Now, after Midnight Hammer, when we blew up their enrichment facilities, what did we learn? They went back into the enrichment business. These people are homicidal maniacs. They want a nuclear weapon and they would use it. They're religious Nazis. But the most important thing said, and this whole episode was on your show tonight, material they had that could make 10 weapons, believing that Trump was Obama and Biden. What did they learn? Trump is not Obama and Biden. So why did we act? We had to. If we waited much longer, they would have gone to 90% and the world would be held hostage. It would be miserable. They'd hold us all hostage, and eventually they would destroy the state of Israel. One Holocaust is enough. Why has Israel been doing what they're doing?
Facts.
They believe the Ayatollah when he says, I want to destroy the Jewish state. I believe him when he says death to America. Now, President Trump, thank God he was there. He's the right guy at the right time. And when he heard they were that close to 10 weapons, he acted. And you know what? When this is over, we're going to obliterate their nuclear program, and there's going to be a new dawn in the Mideast. President Trump, you did the right thing. But there'll never be a lasting peace. Not until Christ comes back. You literally saved the world from terrorism.
But a temporary peace is good, too.
You know, the sad part is, and I keep mentioning this, and I wrote a whole book about it, Deliver Us from Evil. Last century, over 100 million human souls.
Yep.
You don't learn from the lessons of history, doomed to repeat it. I guess there are those that think that they are smarter.
It's more than
and
that,
maybe
even,
willing
because
to roll the
the
dice
Russians killed
and
60
say, well,
million
maybe they
of their
don't mean it.
own
Maybe they
people
want nuclear weapons
in the 1900s
for whatever reason.
Before,
I'm not willing to take
not
that
even
chance
including
on
the
children's
deaths of
future.
Russians in the Second World War.
Senator Graham, I don't think you pissed anyone off tonight. Very good job. I'm very proud of you.
Well, they're deeper than their bench in Iran.
That's funny.
So thanks.
Yeah, that's true.
All righty, next video up on the big screen. And punch it, Chewie.
The drumbeat from the U.S. press corps since Operation Epic Fury began has been relentlessly pessimistic. That despite America's superior firepower, Iran is grinding down the American military. Posting on X, Democrat pollster Mark Penn put it very well, writing, "The headlines abound. Regime doing well, in control. Trump under pressure to end war. Khomeini's son just as tough as dad. U.S. responsible for missile on school." So where are the headlines, 50 Iranian ships sunk, or Iranian military assets destroyed, or leadership tries to put on good showing despite internal chaos, or Khomeini appointment creates hereditary theocracy, war plan progress unprecedented? Well, those stories should be told, not because they're pro-Trump hype, but because they're accurate. But CNN seems hell-bent on framing almost every development as a negative. When the current Iranian regime needs optimistic framing, it knows where to go.
For the Iranians, as long as they are there, as long as their leadership structure is still effective and still very much intact, is stable, and as long as they have that leverage in the Persian Gulf area, they believe that they can hold out for an extended period of time. And when you go out on the streets in Tehran, one of the things that you do notice is that there are a lot of security forces on the ground, and where they are also internally projecting that they are still very much in charge and still very much have that grip on power.
And 6 days ago, CNN in Iran was essentially giving the world two thumbs up.
Taking a quick break for a coffee along the way. We've been driving for several hours. There's a couple of things that we've noticed. Number one is that, first of all the shops are open. All the shops are really well stocked, even with fresh things like, for instance, fruits and vegetables. Coffee, obviously, also available as well. And then also the gas stations. There's no long lines as gas stations. Fuel seems readily available, and you just don't see any sort of degree of panic anywhere.
Well, I don't know, channeling his best Baghdad Bob?
They are sick in their minds.
They said they entered 65 tanks in the middle of the capital. They claim that I tell you, I inform you that this speech is too far from the reality.
They are not near Baghdad. Don't believe them.
They are not near Baghdad. All right, we're having
do not
some fun
believe
here, but
them.
Come on, what
Do
we're
not-
seeing
do
from
not
our
near
media
them. Do not
is just
believe
as
them.
disturbing as it is comical.
Oh, whatever
Check
happened to
out
the
this
CNN
analysis from the New
CNN
York
people
Times
that were
over the
taken
weekend.
hostage by
How
the
Trump's
Ayatollahs?
war in Iran has
I wonder how they're
echoes
doing.
of Putin and
Hopefully okay, because
Ukraine.
we don't want them.
This is disgusting, and it's aggressively stupid. There is literally zero serious comparison there. America doesn't want to occupy Iran or take territory we deem to be historically ours, which is what Putin wants. Unlike Ukraine, Iran supported the most lethal terrorist network in the world, Hezbollah, and it continued to threaten us militarily by refusing to give up their nuclear ambitions. The Times should be ashamed of
Lawrence,
itself.
they can't handle
Of course,
the
the
truth.
reality that the Trump-hating media is loath to report is that the Iranian regime is deeply unpopular, especially among its young people. We can all see Iran currently being hammered on all sides. So where are the stories about how Iran, with its Mideast missile and drone strikes, has essentially made enemies of almost every main player in the region? Although Iran can still muster, of course, some lethal military strikes, they're less frequent. And with the THAAD interceptors, we are actually taking out and destroying the lion's share of what they're launching. America will win this because victory is our only option. And of course, we're just stronger and better than they are. Yes, the risks at the outset were real, and we do not minimize them. Yes, the tragedies of the dead and the wounded are heart-wrenching. But there is no sense that Iran will be able to wait us out and reconstitute their nuclear program or their missile programs anytime soon. That is ludicrous. The biggest threats are eliminated or will be soon. But for the Beltway media types, they'd rather propagandize
You are
for the
welcome,
enemy,
Country
or at
Carpenter.
least
We're glad to
appear
have you.
than report on President Trump's successes. And they wonder why their audience and readership is evaporating. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Let's jump into that one actually for right now until I get the newest one up.
Joining us now from Doral, David. Obviously, we're seeing the Latin American leaders coming out. What else can you tell us?
Well, the Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, War Secretary, and others are in the room right now as we await President Trump. He's in another room right now, as you can see on the screen, taking those photos with some of those leaders. So this is the Shield of the Americas, several different countries. We have a map, if we can put up the map, that shows where these countries are being represented.
That was a few days ago. Okay, here we go. Coming to you in 20 seconds, if not less.
The National Security Advisor, Victoria Coates. Victoria, so good to have you with us today. We got to do a lot of talk on the Strait of Hormuz here, okay? Today was a wild day. If you're watching oil markets, it was a wild day.
God bless President Trump. Amen
We got news that
amen.
turned out not to be true. And then at the end of the day, we got this talk about mining. So let's start with the post by the Secretary of Energy saying we've got escorts of tankers.
Well, that's
going
between
through
him
the
and
strait.
God, then, isn't it?
Went
That
out,
doesn't affect his
quickly
ability
pulled
to run a
back.
nation.
Oil swung
You're
big
out of here.
time on that news.
Oh,
What do you
good
make of
catch,
all that?
Angela.
It did.
You're
It shows
quick.
us what kind of
Yeah,
chaos
you're
that
quick.
we're in,
Love
Brian,
it.
in this situation. And we all have to be really cautious. All of my trader friends I've talked to have said, don't do anything. Just wait. Don't be in a rush to be wrong. And Dagan, what you were just reporting on this east-west pipeline, it's called Petroline, across Saudi Arabia. It's both oil and natural gas. And so this pipeline was strategically laid in the early 80s. I believe it was 1982. This is the way to get energy across to the Red Sea. You know, it's a little bit clunkier than just loading it up on a single tanker and taking it to its destination, but we have these options. And if Saudi can get to 70%, which is what they said, in fairly short order, and the United States is producing at top level, we can manage this situation. This is not
Angela.
a disaster.
That is true.
The sky is not falling.
That's why I focus on the knowns.
It's fun to moderate too. It really is.
Give me talk all day long
CV43
about barrels per day and what is moving. And there's another pipeline that was built about 10 years ago by the UAE that can circumvent the strait.
CV43.
About 1.5 million barrels. So if you add up even 5
the USS Coral
on the
Sea.
East-West pipeline in Saudi Arabia and another 1.5 in
Do you know the
United
Enterprise
Arab Emirates,
CVN-80 will be handed over to the Navy sometime around 2030? I'll just put it in the chat.
Through the strait. And then any additional, and then a petroleum reserve release by the G7 nations. You've got time for the United States and Israel to execute and complete this mission against Iran.
Absolutely. It reminds me very much of the Iranian attack on Abaqaiq, which
he was
interestingly
okay.
is where this petroleum originates.
Yeah, he was all right.
Gulf going over to
yeah, it's okay. He's out now, but it's
but when
okay.
they attacked,
you need a CV43 hat. That was the Coral Sea.
2019. The idea was they were going to cripple global energy markets, and that would prevent President Trump at the time from continuing to implement
it's all good, though. No worries,
pressure campaign. And they failed because with the same mechanisms, we were able to manage global security markets, and nobody remembers the energy crisis of 2019.
Oh, they've been in here a little bit, Rakester,
by the
but
way, CENTCOM,
it hasn't been too bad tonight. It's been relatively
also
quiet.
Posting on X about this, but CENTCOM just posted that it took out.
That's okay. We got the best mods in the business out there.
Layers near the
it's no big deal. I can actually
today.
go find them really, but it's all right. No biggie.
Multiple Iranian naval vessels, including 16
You're learning, bro. You're learning.
layers.
Listen, I make mistakes all the time. You know, we learn over time, okay? Trial and error, especially moderating.
I wonder if this is a sign of desperation.
You're doing well, though. I'm proud of you.
I think it is, because we're starting to lose their major capabilities. These aren't ballistic missiles anymore. Their mine layers are their smaller ships. We've sunk 50 of their Navy. They didn't have a huge Navy to begin with. For us to lose 50 ships would be catastrophic.
Oh,
For
yeah,
Iran,
absolutely.
It means they no longer have that capability. So these are much smaller
Get out of my
ships
channel,
that
Jake.
lay the mines.
Jack,
remember,
whatever
this
you are.
happened before. It
You
happened in
obviously fits your
1989
name.
under President Reagan, and he initiated
people's children, I'm
Project
telling you.
Praying Mantis to demine the strait. This can be done. We have this capability. So I think we are seeing the Iranians lose their capacity for ballistic missiles, lose their capacity for attack drones. This is kind of their last gasp.
You know, we've been talking a lot about what success ultimately means. The president used the term unconditional surrender. I think they modified or clarified that a little bit and said, well, it means Iran can't pose a threat to us, whether or not they actually say the word surrender. How do you read the way the administration is thinking about defining success so that America can know, hey, when we get to this point, we've done what we came to do?
I do think, Brian, neutralizing the threat is the bottom line here. That we have labored under this threat for 47 years. We've taken so many attacks, had so many hostages, starting with the embassy in 1979. That has to end. That's the bottom line. And they can't have a nuclear weapon.
No,
so when we get to that
not.
point, we've succeeded. On top of that, there are many positive things that can happen for the Iranian people, for the future of Iran. This can be enormously lucrative for the United States. I'm hopeful for all that, but that's not my metric for success.
before we jump, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said something to Larry Kudlow last Friday when he was talking about the U.S.-backed insurance for tankers. He said, have been working on this for months at the direction of the president. And I thought, that's maybe why Benjamin Netanyahu's been at the White House for 7 times.
Part of that conversation,
100%.
indeed. Yeah, Victoria Coates, so good to have you here. We appreciate you.
And the next one is right here. Oops, not filters, Mike. Interact.
Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun now calling for direct negotiations with Israel as part of a proposal to end Israel's conflict with Hezbollah, the Iran-funded terror group operating in Lebanon. Since the start of the Iran war, Hezbollah launched rockets and Israel responded with airstrikes on several Hezbollah-occupied territories in the cities of Sidon and Tyre. This, as Israeli Prime Minister
you want to hit the
Benjamin
3 dots
Netanyahu has
next
vowed
to the
there will be not a quick
where the 3
end
dots are
to
next
the
to
war
the
with
comment
Iran.
from the
Joining me now,
person's
Israeli
name,
Ambassador to the
and that
United
gets you the
Nations,
options.
Danny Danon. Well, this is
Hello,
a big
Rockster.
development, isn't it? Where the president of Lebanon not only said he wants to have
Good to have you,
negotiations with
Rockster, with
Israel because Beirut is getting hammered, but he had some very harsh words for Hezbollah. Do you believe him?
We have no beef with Lebanon. I think we will actually sign a treaty with them one day, sooner than later.
Really?
Yes, I think they will join the Abraham Accords. But words are not enough. We expect actions. So the Lebanese leaders are saying the right things about Hezbollah, about the involvement of Iran in Lebanon, but they are not doing anything. So you mentioned, Lisa,
when you say doing anything, you mean
confronting Hezbollah. Hezbollah should not be on the border with Israel. There is a UN resolution that passed 1701. They should be outside of this area. And the Lebanese military, they vanished. They left the posts and they allowed Hezbollah to take over. And now when Hezbollah is actually attacking Israeli communities, we have no choice. So if Lebanon is serious, we welcome peaceful negotiations. But first they have to take action against Hezbollah. They have to confront Hezbollah.
So that is what would show you that Lebanon is serious and that you would meet with the President Aoun?
We will meet anyone and we'll negotiate with anyone in Lebanon. But they have to show that they are serious confronting the radicals. They shouldn't allow Iran to take over Lebanon. It is about time that Lebanon will be for the Lebanese people, not for the radicals from Tehran. And so far, they are very weak. They say the right things, they don't take the right actions. So hopefully it will change. But until it will happen, we are targeting Hezbollah posts in Lebanon.
I beat you to him.
Dismantling the bunkers. And as you mentioned, it's
the moderators can compete to see who can get the guys out of here quicker.
Rockets flying into Israel from Lebanon.
And this came after the Israeli Air Force 9 days ago went in and eliminated so many of the leadership of Iran's authoritarian regime. What to you looks like a war's end? What objective must be achieved before Israel says, okay, we're done?
So, we have no conflict with Iran. When you look at
you want me to pull the moderator from you, Sharon?
There's no border with Iran.
Not.
But it's pure radical hate against the U.S. and Israel. So when we realized there is a threat against Israel, against the U.S., we took action.
Oh, on who? I didn't even notice.
They built the nuclear warheads. The last thing they had to do is to assemble.
Well, if you unhide them on accident, you can always kick them out again, too.
So once we feel we dismantle the threat, they are not capable to launch ballistic missiles. They are not capable to put the nuclear program.
It's fun being moderator.
Yeah,
I will. I'll undo you.
Call it a day. We are moving forward.
I'm not offended, I promise.
Than we expected, but still there are a lot of targets and a lot of things to take care of in Iran. For 47 years, they built this terror machine. It will take few weeks to dismantle
let's see here.
Just weeks?
I think weeks. Yeah, not months and not years.
That seems quick to take down a very well-entrenched system. That is so, Iran is a very large country. Physically, it's huge. And there
but
are
most of it's desert. If you could find their outposts.
So evil toward Israel and the United States.
At least on the surface of the ground, you can take them out easy.
They entrenched for 47 years. But once we gained air superiority, and today we can actually target everywhere in Iran without risking the Israeli pilots and the American Air Force.
You're welcome, Sharon.
To be very efficient.
You're welcome.
Ambassador,
I appreciate you.
When President Trump yesterday said the war is just about over pretty much, Did the Israelis think to themselves, why is he saying that? In fact, the next day, today, this morning,
we are a fun group,
the Secretary
no doubt.
of Defense came out and said, today will be the most intense day of hitting Iran.
Yeah, it is. 5,000 hits today alone.
So 1 minute it's we're almost done, we're done, and then the SecDef says what he said. Is it sort of somewhere in the middle?
We know President Trump. We respect him. We are grateful for his leadership. He could have actually ignored the situation.
He almost sounds like Arnold.
And say, you know what, somebody else will deal with that threat.
Which is what has happened year after year after year.
You know,
yeah, there's a lot of mountains there too, isn't there? That's right. True.
It was a joke. You know, in the JCPOA agreement with Iran, it says that inspectors will come to Tehran to inspect the sites, but they had to give a notice before they came.
I like his accent. It's actually pretty cool.
Exactly. So President Trump chose not to play games. And we trust him, and we collaborate with our allies in Washington. And I think he keeps it vague, and he should keep it vague about how long and what we are doing now in Iran.
But the divergence, is there a
22
divergence
years.
between
That's
goals?
a good career right there. That's a good amount of years
America's
in the military.
End goal and Israel's end goal. Are they slightly different?
Went in.
Clearly, President Trump has said no nukes,
I was upset about
no
that.
terror groups. You guys want that as well.
But who knows?
However,
I might have been killed somehow, some way.
Complete elimination of the leadership and a change. And President Trump has said he wants that
Jack
as well.
Cain.
But there's the oil picture here.
Raising Cain and maybe even Abel.
Is Israel planning at all to target anything in the Strait of Hormuz, including Karg Island, through which 90% of Iran's oil exports?
There is no daylight between the U.S. and Israel. We collaborate, we coordinate, we fight together.
We fight.
That's something that
we
never
fight
happened in the
together.
past. You know,
I love it.
We work together.
My name is Arnold, and
you
we
mentioned
fight
Iron Dome
together.
Today, but you never saw Israeli pilots flying together with American pilots.
Sorry.
And that's what we see today.
I had to.
We are not targeting the infrastructure of Iran oil energy. If we decide to do it, we can do it. We are capable of doing it. It is not a decision yet.
Do you have any intel for America? Because President Trump just tweeted on Truth Social, he said, if Iran put out any mines in the Strait of Hormuz, and we have no reports yet of them doing so, we would want them removed. Are the Iranians going to listen to that?
Well, they're desperate. And when someone is desperate, he's dangerous. You know, they attacked more Arab countries than Israel attacked in 77 years. They launched ballistic missiles to Europe, to Cyprus, to Turkey. So I think the idea of putting mine in the Strait of Hormuz, it's a risky idea, and they should know that they will pay a price for any act of aggression. Not only coming from Israel. Tomorrow in the Security Council of the United Nations, Bahrain is putting a resolution with all the Gulf countries to condemn and isolate Iran.
That's never happened.
Never happened before. So it's not only the U.S.
Oh,
or
I
Israel.
forgot about this
you
one
see
here.
More and more countries today.
Okay, we're going to go to this one
isolating
next.
Iran and demanding answers.
I forgot about this one. I must have deleted it on
I
accident
think one
in
of the big
queue.
headlines here is that you say Lebanon
No, not
will
Q from
eventually
Star Trek: The
join
Next Generation.
the Abraham Accords.
And
We shall
Voyager
watch all
and
of it.
DS9
Thank you
as
very
well.
much.
Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was glad to be here. I don't know if I do a very good Arnold, but I do try. Watch out!
Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive, fresh off her closing remarks, is Andreessen Horowitz general partner Catherine
That was
Boyle,
funny.
live from the American Dynamism Summit. Catherine.
Okay, now here is Senator John Kennedy. John Kennedy is my favorite. It's my channel. I can have fun once in a while. It's not always preaching and being serious. There is more to life than that. Not much more, but there is more. All right. Punch it, Chewy.
Second thing I want to talk about, our friends in the United Kingdom.
This is going to be great.
I love the people.
I do too. I can't stand Starmer. He's a traitor.
I went to school there for a while. They're wonderful people.
Traitor.
They deserve better than the government that they're being given right now. I don't mean any disrespect in saying this, but I'm not a big fan of the Prime Minister Starmer. The United Kingdom was founded by geniuses, but at the moment it's being run by idiots. We
That's so true.
entered Iran because we had no choice. I don't want America to be the world's policeman. I do not.
No.
But on occasion, some of the bad guys in the world decide they're going to be the world's policeman. And it requires us to intervene. And that's why we're in Iran. If I said Iraq, I made a mistake. It's late. That's why we're in Iran. The president did not enter Iran to start a war. He entered Iran to prevent a war. Let me tell you why I say that. Our intelligence clearly showed, categorically, unequivocally, that Iran had restarted its nuclear warhead program. And let me say, I love the people of Iran too. I mean that. I don't think much of their political leadership. The good people of Iran basically are being governed before and now with the new supreme leader by Jack Nicholson in The Shining. They are stone cold crazy.
I love his analogies.
Their religion teaches them, their interpretation of their religion tells them that they have to kill people who don't interpret.
If you don't convert, you're to be killed. You're an infidel, which is worse than an unbeliever.
And when your religion tells you to kill somebody, as far as I'm concerned, it's time to get a new religion.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, our intelligence clearly showed that Iran had restarted its nuclear weapons program, and its plan was to produce so many missiles, so many ballistic missiles, and to some extent cruise missiles and drones. In fact, they were producing between 200 and 600 ballistic missiles a month.
Wow.
Our intelligence showed that their plan was to stockpile so many missiles and so many drones that if we re-entered, or anyone re-entered Iran to stop their new efforts to obtain a nuclear warhead, that they would annihilate the entire Middle East. The entire Middle East. And other countries they could reach, like Turkey.
Like what? Oh, wait, wrong Turkey.
That is a fact. That's what the intelligence showed.
Okay.
So the president.
So, okay, you in the chat. Oh, never mind. Huh? He went bye-bye.
Wanting to avoid a future war, said I've got to intervene now. And here is our mission. I don't care what you've heard. This is what our mission is.
Yeah.
We want to destroy their Navy. We want to destroy Iran's Air Force. We want to destroy Iran's missile production facilities.
I could listen to Kennedy all day.
We want to destroy Iran's drone production facilities. We want to destroy or make them use as many of their missiles as they have and their drones. And we want to attack and destroy the infrastructure used by the Revolutionary Guard. And then we want to get out. Now, there's been a lot of speculation by some of my Democratic friends that, well, the president's going to put boots on the ground. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. If the president puts boots on the ground, the thud you hear will be me face planting from surprise. I will faint. How long will this take? I think a few more weeks.
Yeah, he is. He really is a great senator.
And then we will be out. Was our intelligence right? You better believe it was. What's the first thing, the very first thing that the Iranian leadership did? They started attacking all the other countries in the Middle East. They even fired a missile at Turkey. They even fired a missile at the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I know. How stupid was that? How dumb was that?
Now, I give you this background so you will know why the president did what he did. Everything I just told you,
yeah,
the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom knew. He had the same intelligence we had. When it came time for us to intervene, he said, you cannot use any United Kingdom Air Force.
Well, right now, on the stove, I am making a chicken breast
Zero.
with
Nada.
garlic, onion.
He specifically said you can't use
olive
Diego
oil,
Garcia.
And some other good stuff.
The joint U.S. United Kingdom military base in the Indian Ocean that Keir Starmer is trying to give away.
Barkley
to
from the Enterprise.
Mauritius. You've heard me talk about it on the Senate floor.
Are you Barkley from the Enterprise? Oh, it's Barclay. Never mind. I was thinking of Lieutenant Barkley from the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701D. I'm not sure if he served on the E or not, but I have to check into that.
And Mauritius, of course, will welcome the Chinese.
Islam is a satanic religion, absolutely.
Now, once the war started going the way of people who believe in freedom, Prime Minister Starmer changed his mind. Now he says you can use our bases.
This is where all the cool people hang out, right here on Mike Shriver Ministries. Absolutely.
He also is...
I want to just make a quick announcement. Mike Shriver Ministries, and in cooperation with Angela, Child of God, who asked me to lead a prayer. We're going to start at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. That would be 4 a.m. in California. If you're awake, it'd be 5 a.m. Eastern or Mountain Time. It would be 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Michigan Time, aka Eastern Standard Time. We're going to do a prayer. It's going to be not so much me teaching or preaching. It's just going to be prayer requests. We're going to pray for the president. We're going to pray for our troops abroad to keep them safe. We're going to pray for their families. I'm going to do it at 7 a.m. for a while. We're going to do it again at 10 a.m. So those that are on the West Coast, it'd be 7 a.m. for you. You guys can join us. We're going to pray, pray, pray. Because a nation that prays together in Jesus' name is a nation that is going to become stronger, more encouraged, and more united, especially under a time of war. And this is war. Amen. All right, back to the video. So right here on Mike Shriver Ministries, I'm going to call it the prayer meeting we're going to have. It's titled The Power of Passionate Prayer. And I have it up already. If you're subscribed, you should have got the notification. I'll put it up here in the chat here in a minute. Make sure you hit the notify me button by the praying hands in the picture of the American flag in the background, and it's got a person's hands in the prayer form. And I'll get it up here in a minute.
Trying to give President Trump advice about how to conduct the war. That's a little bit like seeking the advice of a nun about sex.
Beautiful. Another
so
great
Keir
analogy
Starmer's
by
last person you would want to go to advise you about how
we're all adults here. We're mature.
A military
we are,
confrontation,
though. Aren't we?
He's the kind of guy that he'll want to quote. If you're in the middle of a bar fight, he'll want to stop and quote Socrates. That's what this is, a bar fight.
Kennedy's so good. He's great.
And so I decided after watching this circus without a tent.
Sharon, she says something
this goat rodeo.
Okay, here's the link.
That the Prime Minister is.
So here's the link to, you might call it the Mike Shriver Ministries Day of Prayer. It's going to be with Angela, Child of God, and the rest of us. Here's the link to it. Make sure, if you would, please, it'd be much appreciated if you would click the notify me bell or the praying hands are when you see the picture when you go into the link. And it's right here. I'm pasting it right now. This prayer is going to be for our troops. It's going to be for our president and our nation. So right there, you can click right there. It'll take you right to it. You can click the notify me button where the praying hands are in the picture. I'd appreciate it, guys.
Has thrust upon
we're
the
going to
war.
pray.
I said, let me take a look at what the Prime Minister's plans are in terms of defense. Because if you remember, about a year ago, January, the Prime Minister produced this report. That's all it was a report, but he called it a root and branch strategic defense review. And its purpose was to settle the United Kingdom's military path for years to come. It was ready not this past January, but January before. He didn't produce it until this past summer. And the Prime Minister makes a big deal in his report. He says, we've changed our ways. We've been born
Islam
again.
Controls Great Britain. Let's not get it mixed up.
We're now going to spend 2.6% of our GDP on defense by 2027. I'm thinking, good for you. It's about time. And he said this is going to be in line with all of our NATO allies, 2.6% of our GDP on defense by 2027. And he said, and by God, by 2035, we're going to be spending 3.5%.
Let's see if that comes through.
And then I read the report. The cash is backloaded.
Oops.
He didn't bother to tell the people of the United Kingdom or NATO or the president. The cash is backloaded. He's not going to even start spending the money, the real money, until the 2030s. That's 4 years from now.
That's 4 years from now.
He's going to make it somebody else's problem.
In a comic book.
I can assure you the Prime Minister will not be the Prime Minister.
No, not
in
by
2030 and beyond.
He supports Islam too much to stay in control.
Talk about sleight of hand.
That's an understatement.
And if you run the numbers, there is a great deal of inflation in defense production because so many countries now are starting to actually spend more money on defense, not promising to do so by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So you have to factor in inflation. And under the Prime Minister's plan to not even start spending the real money until 2030, the defense inflation is going to eat away at the amount of money that he has promised to spend. And if you factor in reasonable defense production, the numbers come out to him actually spending 24 billion pounds, $32 billion less than he promised. You think he couldn't figure that out? His numbers guys knew all about it. This is nothing but sleight of hand. In fact, one commentator in the United Kingdom has said it's worse. According to his computations, there's going to be a $28 billion gap over 4 years. Over 4 years. Now, the United Kingdom has also promised to work with us in Australia on building in Australia a new attack submarine. Is the Prime Minister going to wait until 2030 to do that? We can't wait till 2030. Now, look, these are the facts. The United Kingdom has about 140,000 soldiers, members of the military, and God bless every one of them.
Amen, Lawrence.
God bless
because they try to use the First Amendment to cover them as a religion
since 2000.
When Sharia law, as I taught on here before, is an absolute nightmare, especially for women. Especially for women.
To give you a frame of reference, the United States has 2.1 million.
And Jesus is the only true God. Allah is a joke.
They have 140,000.
It's the butt of a
2.8 million
joke,
if you include civilian support staff for our military. So when we first heard that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was going to start spending 2.6% up to 3.5% of GDP on defense, of course we got excited. It's about time that the people in Europe embraced adulthood.
Facts.
And stop sending us the bill for their defense. So we were excited.
Yeah, that's
I was
true.
excited.
That's true.
I was ready to come down here and congratulate the Prime Minister. And then I read the fine print. Sleight of hand.
Abracadabra.
It's all sleight of hand. Now, if I'm wrong, I hope the Prime Minister will respond. But if I'm right, shame on him.
You
shame
bad
on him.
boy. You bad boy.
For looking the good people of the United Kingdom in the eye and the good people of the world in the eye and lying. And
saying what there? Oh, you mean in Britain?
Saying that
yeah,
the
that's
United
true.
Kingdom would do its part when the Prime Minister has no intention.
Yeah, in Britain, it's not a joke. This sounds like I'm making this up, but it's fact. They are removing sexual predators out of prisons to put in people who speak against, like, the government. Yeah, you could have put something on Facebook over in Great Britain, and they will throw your backside in a cell that was just 5 minutes ago occupied by a sexual predator, child sexual predator. And put your backside, who's never done anything wrong in your life, into that cell. Too bad the United Kingdom didn't have a Second Amendment. I feel sorry for their people. They're such good people, too, the good British people. We shed blood against one another in 2 wars, and then we had each other's back in 2 wars. And they're precious to me. And I wasn't alive during the War of 1812 or the War of Independence from Great Britain, nor was I alive during the First or Second World War. But my family served in the Pacific Theater on my mother's side. My father was in Bible college during the Second World War. So I have a very big love for the Second World War and the British people because we've shed blood together and against one another. And by God, something tells me the United States soon is going to have to bail out the people of the UK again from Islam.
Whatsoever. And the
Jade's
final
in the
point I
house.
make, you've heard me, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom wants to give away a military base,
that went all over the floor.
Base that we own with
That's a
the
real
United
bummer.
Kingdom called Diego Garcia. It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
That's a real bummer.
The Prime Minister's decided he has got to give it to Mauritius.
To who? Delicious.
Mauritius never owned the Chagos Islands,
who's
one
Mauritius?
of which houses our military
I've
base.
never even heard of this.
Mauritius has no connection to the islands. But the United Nations told the Prime Minister that he should be ashamed.
Oh, the United Nations can go kick rocks.
Should be ashamed.
I'm so sick of the United Nations.
Because of the United Kingdom's colonial.
Unfortunately, the Antichrist will come out of there, but I suppose that's the only good thing about it then. Because that means 1 year closer to Jesus as soon as that joker shows up in power.
And so, Mr. Starmer, woke that he is, said, well, we gotta give it away. We want to give it away to Mauritius.
What's Mauritius?
Who is just like this with China. He might as well just
Oh,
hand
no,
the keys to
we
China.
can't give that island to, no. Sorry. Just can't.
I have, to do that, Mr. Starmer's got to get President Trump's permission. And I've been round and round with the president. I don't know how many times I've been on this floor talking about, please stop it, Mr. President.
I don't think President Trump would give that
I'm
island
not criticizing the president because he's got to listen to his advisors. I get that. First he was against it, then he was for it, then he was against it, then he was for it. His last comment, I think he's figured.
Right, yeah. Those islands are very very important for our B-1 bombers and for any other
no, sir, no, ma'am, no way. I am not giving you permission. Please stick, Mr. President.
Isn't that one of the islands we got from the island hopping campaign from World War II, and we just kept it or whatever?
That military base, which will end up in the hands of China. For us to give away one of the few places in the Indian Ocean that we can actually refuel our submarines. For us to give away this isn't a hyperbole, it's one of the the most important military bases in the defense of the American people. For us to give it away would be unconscionable. Tell Mr. Starmer no, Mr. Preston.
It's my girl right here. That was a great speech by Kennedy. I really like him. I wish the Lord would give him 20 years back. Oh, here he is again.
Talk about briefly,
I didn't know this was going to pop up.
Is Netflix.
What's this about?
Netflix and lawfare. Permit me to explain. I love Netflix.
He loves Netflix. Oh, thank you. I got two tortoiseshells.
Television, but sometimes when I come in the evening and I want to relax, I'll watch one of the shows on Netflix, and you know they have shows like I wrote a few down: Godless, Adolescence, Ripley, The Queen's Gambit, just wonderful acting. I really admire Netflix. It's a great American company. The ingenuity, the creativity that its founders had to have to come up with this concept. You know, video demand through streaming.
Yeah, it took out my business.
Netflix is so successful.
Well, the company I worked for, Movie Gallery,
25 million
was the best job I ever had. Paid the most money ever.
Their movies go out,
who's
and
got his
their
own YouTube
limited
channel?
series go out all across the world.
Well, here, let's get something more modern about the war here or something.
Netflix has 16,000 employees.
Let me find a new one here.
They generate about $45 billion a year in cash flow. It's just a great American company, and I'm proud of it. That's why I was so surprised.
Oh, this must be about that. That's about this one thing I had a fit about.
Some of the things said by one of the Netflix board of directors.
Is this about the show where the transgender TV show that was for kids of 7 years of 7 age?
I think it's anywhere from
7 years
11,
old
12, 13.
and younger.
Really bright people.
I want to continue listening.
You go through and read their resumes, you can't help but be impressed. They're well compensated. Now, just to be a board member, they pay you $300,000 a year. But I was shocked to hear what one of their board members said. And I don't know if this board member was speaking for Netflix because she's so prominent. She's well known, and it's well known that she is on the board of Netflix. I think she was on the board of Netflix.
Well, let's just go here. We got something more modern right now about the war. So this is about that school that was hit from Fox News.
Who worked for President Obama and President Biden. Stanford graduate.
Brother Kennedy, we'll get you back up there another day. Maybe I'll do a whole Mike Shriver's ministry, after I'm done teaching and preaching, doing that first, and maybe we'll do like a whole hour of watching Kennedy different times he spoke in recent months or whatever. But for right now, I am kind of curious about this one. I don't know what this is going to say. Of course, I'm watching these for the first time with all of you too, except for I think that Kennedy one I seen, but it was worth watching twice.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi. We are covering the latest out of the Middle East, and as attacks continue across the region,
I'm going to have to.
Death tolls also continuing to rise. The U.S.-Israel war in Iran and Iran's retaliatory strikes have killed at least 1,230 people in Iran, at least 486 in Lebanon, and 11 in Israel, according to officials
in those countries. We're at 58,000 views right now.
And again, in
We've
Iran,
only been live
at
for a little
least
bit.
1,230 people have been killed since the first strikes from the U.S. and Israel, according to officials.
And the trolls are at a minimum.
That includes more than 160
well, maybe not a minimum.
who were killed in a strike at a girls' elementary school in southern Iran. Now there are reports that the U.S. may possibly be responsible for that strike.
They've been talking about that since the night it happened.
Still waiting for the investigation to conclude.
Skip the next
President
ad
Trump
here.
was asked about this at a press conference yesterday, and so was Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt during the White House press briefing this morning. Let's listen to their responses.
And I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more. But whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a Tomahawk is very generic. It's sold to other countries. But that's being investigated right now. And I will say that the Tomahawk...
Okay, Angela. Yeah, I don't think I'll be much longer anyway.
Iranian school. How long does the administration expect?
I thought this was actually a new video. Well, it is a new video, but...
White House or the Department of Defense release a full report of its findings once the investigation is complete.
The Department of War will do that. The investigation continues, and as the president said yesterday at his press conference, he will accept the conclusion of that investigation, whatever it may be.
Now, one of the news agencies reporting that the U.S. may be responsible for this deadly strike on an elementary school in Iran is the New York Times. Iranian state media posted these images that they say show the remnants, the aftermath of that February 28th.
I don't know if I believe it. I know the Pentagon is looking into it further. They said that like 2 days ago, but is it possible? Absolutely. Things happen in war you don't mean to. But I don't know. I'm just not believing it. Iran would say anything, absolutely anything to make us look bad. And they're not beyond that capable either. They could do that. It wouldn't surprise me. But again, let's be fair. I don't know for sure what happened.
The attack in
Yeah, I'm having a lot of pain right now. This is part of my body. And usually I can mask it without you guys even seeing it, that I'm hurting. But that in the leg, when I went to stand, as soon as I put any pressure at all on my right foot to push myself up from sitting, right above my knee, boom, nailed me. I don't know if they say it's tendonitis, I don't think it is. I've looked up tendonitis, I've studied it out. Something's up.
Southern
I
Iran.
have polyneuropathy in both legs from cauda equina syndrome. So
according to the New York Times,
I can walk,
analysis
so I think
of
Jesus.
those images shows that
Anything else makes no difference to me.
A missile made by American manufacturers. For more on this, let's bring in New York Times reporter Christian Triebert. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Shauna.
So you did some extensive reporting on this for the New York Times. What do we know about these images? I'm going to put them back up for our viewers. What do we know about these images, and what indicators do you see that the missile may have been made in the U.S.?
So these are images that were published yesterday by Iran's state broadcaster. And what we're seeing here are weapon remnants that we have identified as being components of the US-made Tomahawk missile. And what's interesting that we see different parts here. We have a detail that shows what we identified as a satellite data link antenna, which basically allows the cruise missile to communicate via satellite with the people operating that launched the missile. We also see what's called an actuator, which is basically a mechanism or part of an actuator, because all of these parts, of course, have been heavily damaged. And we identified it actually says on the label, made in the USA. It's an Ohio-based company that produces these actuators that basically allow the missile to be steered as it is in flight. And that's what we're seeing in these images. And I think, what is very important to mention is that, these images came from Iran's state broadcaster. So they come, more than a week after this strike happened. We don't know whether these remnants were actually found at the school site. But what is so striking about them that we have not seen these remnants, these specific remnants with these specific markings, like they all have unique markings before, suggesting they are recent, but also that they actually add to a growing body of evidence that the US may be responsible for this strike. And I think, these photos are just like basically one part of the puzzle that points towards U.S. culpability in the strike on this school.
Yeah, it just doesn't make a lick of sense.
And let's talk about the extensive research and analysis that went into this. What's that process like of analyzing and verifying this information just based on a few images that we're getting? Again, as you mentioned, it's important to point out that these images were released by Iranian broadcasters claiming that this was the remnants of that attack on the school. But how do you go about analyzing these images and verifying that information?
Well, thank you for asking the question, because it's, I think, always a very fascinating process of how this goes. Because, of course, I'm not on the ground in Iran, but I'm part of a team called Visual Investigations at the New York Times. I'm just one reporter of many reporters that is specialized in looking at strikes like these. Over the past decade or so, we have looked at hundreds of different incidents around the world. And when in the first hours of the joint Israeli-US attack on Iran, our colleagues pinged my colleagues and said, hey, there are these reports that a lot of people, including a lot of children, have been killed at a school. Can you look into it? And there were a lot of competing narratives. And I think the main thing we first tried to do is to establish, can we establish this was a school? And we, my colleagues quickly could establish this as a school because, there were reference photos of the school, but also you're looking for images. We're seeing one here that we'll talk to in a second. But basically, trying to find out where are these photos and videos filmed? Are they legitimate? And they showed they were legitimate. They were from a school in Minab, the school Shajara Tayyebe.
Yeah, that's probably right, Jaden. I'm sure
Minab.
that could happen. It'd be easy for them to do.
We were able to verify that these photos were taken there. But what is very interesting, we're then trying to figure out, okay, we can see that actually the school is adjacent to a base of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And going back through historical satellite imagery on Google Earth and on Google Maps, it is possible to see that this school in 2013, so more than 10 years ago, was actually part of that IRGC military facility. But since 2016, there's a very clear distinction. There's a wall being built, there are playgrounds being built on the school, and the school becomes a very distinct, separate compound from the military base. And we ordered satellite imagery, high-resolution satellite imagery captured by a US satellite, a commercial satellite, to basically get a sense of how does it look like from space? How does it look like top-down? And what is visible on that, my colleagues and other experts noted that basically multiple buildings on the base of the IRGC, on the military base, were hit by precision strikes. And it's visible because the holes are in the middle of the building, or the buildings have been completely flattened. So these are the buildings on the military base, but that adjacent school compound was also hit by a precision strike because it was damage that is consistent with the precision strike and not, as some people initially suggested, an errant missile from Iran that maybe accidentally fell on the school. That would show a very different damage.
That's a great point, Thunder. Who sends their kids to school?
And then
why bombs are falling everywhere around? Yeah, I mean,
actually
that's
came out only a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Of course, Iran has restricted internet access. Not all the photos and footage that may be available.
Any parent that sends their kids to school, why bombs are falling, or even the risk of that, if you know you're going to be under attack,
hitting
that'd be
the
foolish.
military base. Now, why is this important? No one has taken responsibility for this strike. And we know that US officials have said, hey, we're actually striking these first hours of February 28th, the first day of this war. We know that US officials said publicly, we are striking in this
Probably
general
thought
area
they'd
where
be
the
safe
school
at
is
school.
located.
All right, come on, dude.
The Israelis said,
You're out of here.
we are not
Give me a
aware
break.
that we conducted any strikes in the area. So that leaves the United States and the Iran that could be responsible. But that video showed a US-made Tomahawk missile. Right here we see it.
Wait a minute.
Which
Where?
suggests that, okay, this compound was hit by
how do we know it was a
US-made
Tomahawk that hit?
missile. And we also know that the school was hit around that same
I guess,
time.
how do you prove that?
Now, coming back to those photos that you just mentioned, there's
Couldn't have
also
not been an Iranian
remnants
missile
of
that
the
hit it?
US-made
I mean,
Tomahawk
just
missile.
saying, okay, I'm just
And
playing
this,
devil's
in
advocate.
combination, just really is a growing body of evidence that implicates the United States here.
I mean, I suppose it's possible.
Really extensive research and
theoretically.
reporting going into this. We really appreciate
But
your
I
perspective. We
somewhat
also
doubt
want to
that.
talk a little bit about the White House's response to these claims. As you just mentioned, they have suggested that possibly the Islamic Republic was responsible for striking that elementary school. We just heard those clips from Press Secretary Caroline
They have
Leavitt,
no
as
problem
well as President
torturing
Trump
and
speaking
murdering their
yesterday
own
about this.
people by the
Now, your colleague at the New
bushel.
York Times
I
also
wouldn't put it
asked
past
Trump
them.
a follow-up at yesterday's press conference. He was saying that following up on President Trump suggesting that Iran got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war, as you mentioned. But he asked why President Trump is the only person in the administration who is claiming this. President Trump replying that he doesn't know enough about it, is waiting for the investigation. He also added that numerous other nations have Tomahawks and buy them from the U.S. So what has the administration's response been to?
Well, didn't Pete Hegseth even come out and say the Pentagon is still investigating it? I mean, have we
these
forgotten
claims, and how does it conflict or not with your reporting at the New York Times?
So I want to be very clear here that there's no evidence that Iran has or has ever had Tomahawks. So basically, as I said, we talked about this, a US-made missile. And any country the United States has sold these Tomahawk missiles to would need to have permission to sell them to a third party like Iran, which would be highly unlikely that the Pentagon or the Department of War, Department of Defense would give authorization for that. Besides the United States, there are currently only 2 other countries that we are aware of that have actually acquired this weapon from the United States. That's Australia and that's the United Kingdom. And 2 other countries, Japan and the Netherlands, have also bought.
Hold on a minute. Starmer, I'm just saying this, and maybe it's a possibility. What if Starmer had been allowed to sell or decided to sell Tomahawks to Iran? I'm just saying. His population is highly Muslim now since the French decided to get rid of all their illegals to Britain, and Britain said, "Hey, we'll take them." Hallelujah. Or wait, not hallelujah. Allah, whatever. Aliyah Ub. Admiral Akbar? Nope, that's Star Wars. Well, anyway, let's get back to the video.
Bought this weapon, but they've agreed to purchase them from the United States. But as far we know, they're not in service yet. So, there's no known information that any other country than the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom would have this weapon. But let's say even if somehow Iran would have gotten their hands on a Tomahawk missile, let's say that it would have happened.
Money talks, man. Money talks.
It lacks the technical equipment.
Yeah, I thought it was an all-girls school,
the capabilities that are used to program basically this weapon and say, I want to bomb this building, and you program that in the computer, a flight pad, upload that data into the missile's computer that we actually
Sharon
see
caught
here on
that,
screen.
Aliyu
Iran
Akbar
lacks that
or
technical
Admiral
equipment
Akbar.
and capability.
No, that's not right.
But even if we then that assume, let's say that could have happened, they would also need
a snack at a snack bar? No, that's not it
Iran
either.
also doesn't have the capability to launch this specific missile. So to me and to my colleagues, it seems highly unlikely that this claim that Trump made that Iran may have launched the Tomahawk missile on the school, it seems highly unlikely. And there's no evidence to back that up.
All right, Christian Schriebert with the New York Times. We really appreciate your perspective here. Thank you so much for your reporting.
Oh, wow. Check this out. Okay, this one is not about the war, but it's pretty kind of freaky, man. Like, I'm glad I'm not in the storm's path.
Operation Epic Fury now into day number 10.
Just a moment.
And he said here during this that it was, quote, an excursion into something that had to be done. He also noted some of the statistics, the details of what has unfolded, saying the United States has struck some 5,000 targets.
We watched that earlier. So yeah, today, and here's a report on some storms that's hitting. Wow. Here we go, right here. 15 seconds. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome back to Live now from Fox. We are covering some severe weather hitting the Midwest. This is from Fox Weather on X saying dangerous hail. Parts of the Midwest
I just had rain and thunderstorms come through here.
Severe weather with a confirmed tornado spinning across Illinois. Fox Weather fans across the country sharing photos of the damaging hail in their communities. You can see that photo of that car. And since this tweet was put out, Fox Weather now saying confirmed tornadoes have been reported across 4 states.
Haven't helped those in Illinois. 4 states.
Coverage. This is Fox Weather just a few minutes ago on this severe weather.
This is a Fox Weather Alert. We've got a severe weather outbreak that's underway.
Jason, I'm your age. I turned 51 February 9th.
We were at earlier, but we still have some storms that are producing some big hail around Kansas City, a nasty windstorm that's rolling through the Dallas-Fort Worth metro right now. And yeah, Chicago's had some nasty storms as of recently, too. Looks like the tornadoes may be wrapping up. We had one supercell that produced a couple of tornadoes between northern Illinois and northwestern Indiana. And it looks like it's starting to putter out. But this is what it was doing earlier. Not long ago, just a couple hours ago, Kankakee, Illinois, looks to have taken a pretty solid hit from this. Look at all that debris flying around.
Wow, look at that tomato.
There.
Dear
I mean,
God.
what an incredible shot that is from our storm tracker.
That's
Brandon
creepy,
Coppin.
man.
We just
To
talked
have
to
that
him not
coming
long
at
ago
you.
on the phone. And yeah, he's still actually on that storm, that exact same storm that produced that tornado, which produced that damage that you were just looking at there. There's Brandon Kopic right now. And it looks like maybe the end of the road there. Elkhart, Indiana, good spot to shack up for the night. And think about what are we going to do about these windshields? You know, you've got Brandon and Corey lost a windshield. You want to play that clip of Corey getting his windshield busted up earlier? The hail was absolutely massive in these storms.
It wasn't by an illegal immigrant, was it?
And it was all from this one supercell, which you can see right here. Okay, so you see it right there.
Look at that cell.
And then all
Holy
these
cow.
dots up here, these are all reports of some large hail that we had.
Wow.
And
the
I'll
Bible
take you
talks
through the
about
radar
the
here in
last
just a minute,
days
but that
before
level
during the
4 risk is
tribulation.
still out. I think the tornado risk has gone
we
down
just talked
very
about it in
significantly.
Revelation 16, massive hailstones.
We'll go through the
fall,
forecast
like
here in just a
10-pound
second, but listen to this
hailstones,
video
no
of
joke.
Corey. He was, I
In
think
fact,
he was on the horn with
20-pound
Steve
hailstones,
Bender
if I
on
remember
Fox
right.
Weather Live a couple of hours ago, and just getting pelted by baseball-sized hail trying to chase this tornado.
Man, those are massive right now.
That's crazy.
Holy
cow.
We're losing the windshield right now. I was about to say, I think I just saw a part of your car come flying off.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Was he? Yeah, I had a couple uncles that were over in the Pacific Theater and brought Japanese swords home, and not like imitation ones they got off fallen soldiers.
Sounds like I said, I just kind of noticed the storm's getting hooked again.
In fact, the Enterprise CVN-80 is supposed to be delivered to the Navy sometime around 2030. I was one of the 200,000 that had an online petition in 2011 because Congress was going to retire the name Enterprise, and our petition stopped them from retiring the name Enterprise. Out of all the names, they were going to retire Enterprise. That was insane.
Tracking those storms. And yeah, they really got quite a view of that huge tornado that this produced earlier. Now, I will say this.
And thank you for your family member's service. Absolutely.
So
my father was in Bible college just before they hit us at Pearl Harbor in 1940.
How it kind of related to the forecast overall. Now, we knew there was going to be a frontal boundary that was in place, and it was. And I've spent a lot of time analyzing this by hand, just kind of looking at where the boundary was. For the majority of this severe weather event, I'm going to draw a white line here. The boundary was like here-ish. North of the boundary, any storms that find themselves up there, we knew that it would have a low chance at producing tornadoes. And then any storms that found themselves south of the boundary,
pilot? That's
there was
awesome.
going to be a high chance of them producing tornadoes.
Yeah, the airplanes we had at first weren't the greatest, but toward the end of the war, what was it? Not the Tomcats, because that's the F-14.
It was the
a
little bit more clearly.
it was
Follow
the
this storm right here. Again, it just started.
Hellcat. The
popped up
Hellcat,
6
wasn't
hours
it? And
ago. Watch what happens with it as we go forward in time. This should say the last 6 hours, by the way. Sorry on that. I'm making some changes in real time. But look at that. That was our big tornado-producing storm of the day.
Wow,
now,
that's crazy.
You look at the other
look
storm
at the storm cells everywhere.
The other storms that were
in fact, they're coming right up near me.
This one got a tornado
way up there by
warning,
Traverse City.
Tornado warnings briefly.
We just had massive
Doesn't appear
thunderstorm
that
come through here.
They may have had a confirmed tornado briefly on it.
And we're under a winter
another
storm warning. We got thunder everywhere.
That came in out of southeastern Iowa.
Yeah, because I'm up by the Pinky.
See that right there? So the point is, everything that was south of the boundary had the opportunity of producing tornadoes. This storm that was farthest to the east, it was the one that was farthest to the south of the.
I wish to God I would have lived back then. I wish I could have been my father, because he was 20 years old, because he was born in 1920. My dad was. But he was 54 when I was born. I'm 51 now. He'd be 106 November 4th on voting day. And I wish to God I could have lived back then, because my asthma wouldn't have kept me out of the war this time. I could have, even if it would have, I could have said, well, I got perfectly good health. A lot of people, a lot of young men, 15, 16, 17, they were able to lie about their age and still get in. I could have maybe lived my dream of being a soldier, but the Lord knew, as the Lord knows all things, we are where we are to be because this is where He wants us to be in history. So we need to be grateful where we're at now.
Boundary compared to the other ones.
He's got a purpose for all of us.
Moisture-rich and spinny type of environment.
Yeah.
Compared to the others.
Yeah, Dad was November 4th, 1920. He was born.
They produced some huge hail.
So I didn't know any of my grandparents. None of them. I never met any on my mom's side either. They were all dead 15 years before I was born. I got a massive gap in my family history, except for my uncles that served in the Pacific.
Boundary, and we had the tornadoes farther toward the south. Now the other thing that we have going on, and let me throw these warnings back on so you can see this. This is current, so we'll take this. We'll do the loop over the last hour or so. We got a severe thunderstorm warning on the south side of Kansas City, and this is the second round of storms that you guys have gotten in Kansas City, because the first round of storms.
Angela, child of God, you're over there in Oklahoma.
The last 6 hours on
Hopefully
here.
You guys are going to be all right in Jesus' name.
Look at this nasty storm that came through earlier. This was just a couple of hours ago, and there were some reports of baseball-sized hail on the north side of town. So that was one individual supercell. And now what we're seeing happen just over the last hour or two is this frontal boundary itself is starting to fill in with some of the storms. A low-level jet has kicked in now. That's the wind about 5,000 feet up above our heads. And we're starting to see some convergence along that front. And the jet is really feeding some of these storms. Now, the tornado threat, I would say, is overall relatively low from here on out. We can't say it's zero.
This is from like 20 minutes ago, guys.
I'm not seeing much rotation in these storms at all, but it's just kind of bad luck here because, again, the north side of town got the storms earlier, and now the south side of town is going to get hit as well. I'll tell you what, I guess good luck for Kansas City proper. You guys haven't gotten in on it yet, but let me take this back and loop it a little bit. This is going to be a close call for you guys because the area of low pressure, you can actually kind of clearly see it here. Isn't this cool, Chris? Look at this. You can see it like right here. It looks like it's over Emporia, where if you watch this fill in over the last couple of hours, you can see a bit of a counterclockwise rotation. And then you've got your low is right here. That's supported by the surface observations.
Very kind of you, Jason. Front. Very kind of you.
God bless it. Every time I try to do that, it drives me nuts when I try to draw a line, and it's the L. So there's your warm front.
Home on the range.
So this would be moving this way.
Oh, wait. If I sing that, they'll give me a copyright.
This way,
or at least a copyright
once
warning.
This low pushes through, all this stuff.
Can't even sing a song without them trying to get you.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is, how much more to the north are these storms going to move into Kansas City? It's going to be kind of interesting. Oh, that's a live shot of Kansas City. You want to take that full right now? Yeah. Looks like that's pointed in the right direction.
Is this all weather? Oh, well, here we go.
If you recall, during the last severe weather event that we had last time, that was on Friday, a couple of days ago. For the most part, you guys stayed clear of any tornado stuff.
City,
but
Missouri.
There was one brief EF0, I think it was, EF0 tornado that was on the west side of town, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was 1 to 5.
And you could see some power flashes on the camera. And that's something we'll be watching for here. It's always interesting to try and discern between what's lightning and what's a power flash. With a power flash, it's usually got like a greenish color, and you can clearly see it emanating
Oh, that's
from
interesting,
like, the
redneck.
ground.
Yeah, the
a
wind's...
transformer blowing
Oh,
up.
that's not the wind, that's a cat.
With the lightning,
hey, man.
it doesn't quite look like that
What you
usually.
doing, girl?
We're seeing a lot of lightning with these storms, that's for sure. And as of recently, we'll check some of the storm reports on this
I thought
guy.
that was the wind for a minute. I was like, whoa. It's a
Got
cat.
storm reports of 1 to 1.5 inch diameter hail all over the place down here.
Wow.
Let me show you some of these storm reports. Oh, here we go. There's my storm reports. Kansas City. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. So the storm that came through earlier, all these little dots, these are reports of hail, okay? So this is over the last 6 hours. Here was the first storm that came through, bunch of reports of hail as big as baseball size on the north side of town. And then you got the front filling in here. And look at this. All of a sudden, just over the last hour or two, starting to see reports fill in of more hail on the south side of town. But the heart of Kansas City has missed out on it so far. I just think Kansas City is an interesting story right now because they were absolutely peppered with hail-making storms. Downtown, you're surrounded by hail right now, but you haven't gotten any yet. And this may lift to the north a little bit, I would say, over the next hour or two. So don't be surprised if you get some hail downtown. All right, let's look at the overall picture here.
Oh, here's
Actually,
something.
let me do this. Let me back out.
Oh, this will be good. Some of us
Is it just
will
me, or
definitely
am I seeing
enjoy
no tornado
this.
warnings?
Zero. That's great.
0 tornado warnings. I know. My wife
Okay,
works
let's
in the
switch out
ER.
the weather here, guys.
Every once in a while, I'd be on the phone with her.
And let's
being
get to
like,
Marjorie
"Sounds like
Taylor Greene, everyone's favorite Trump lover and an absolute Trump hater. Let's hear how that's going right here on Mike Shriver Ministries on YouTube.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox.
We're
I'm
glad
Shauna
to be back.
Kalafi. A live look right now at Rome, Georgia, as voters in Northwest Georgia headed to the polls to choose
Marley
who will
Taylor,
succeed
thumbs
Marjorie
down.
Taylor Greene, as her seat
Hi,
has been
kitty cat.
vacant
What you
since
doing
she
in the
resigned
window,
back
huh?
in January
Now that
after
winter's pretty
falling
much
out
over.
with President Trump. But tonight, 2 top voter getters emerge from a crowded field. According to the Associated Press, the Democrat Sean Harris and Republican Clay Fuller will face each other in April. We have Fox 5 Atlanta's Christopher King live at the Floyd County Board of Elections with more. Christopher?
Shauna, they tallied the vote here at the Floyd
Yeah,
County Board
you know,
of
Angela,
Elections. Sean Harris and Clay Fuller are the 2 frontrunners. Now,
I think a lot went on there because she own a defense contracting company or some kind of big company or something. I think the libs got to her. I think they did. I think Jasmine Crockett probably had something to do with it because of the hatred they had one for another. I mean, when I was moderating for Professor Nez like a year ago, right, year and a half ago, that was more than that now. Golly jeepers, where does time go? Next thing you know, I'll be boxed up and put under. Wow. Like 2 years ago now, that's when she got in that fight, practically, with Jasmine Davy Crockett, Jasmine Davy Crockett, Queen of the Liberal Frontier. Jasmine Crockett, Queen of the Liberal Frontier. You know, Davy Crockett, Queen of. You guys are so young, you probably don't even remember who Davy Crockett was. It doesn't even work when you're young and don't know. But she fought with Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, in the House or wherever it was. They argued and they cussed each other. They yelled at each other. It was a down, out, and right. I thought they were going to brawl right there, man. Switchblades and everything right there on the floor. Crazy.
neither candidate cleared 50% of the vote, so they have to move on to the runoff in April. This race has national implications. Republicans have a razor-thin margin over Democrats in the House. This race factors into the balance of power in what could be a marathon election season. The field was crowded with 17 candidates. No one was expected to win the majority of the vote.
Lemon pepper.
Clay Fuller won on the Republican side. Fuller is a DA. President Trump has endorsed him. Sean Harris is a cattle farmer and a retired Army general. He promises moderation, but the 14th district is rated the most Republican Republican leaning in Georgia. President Trump carried 68% of the vote in the 2024 presidential election. We spoke with Fuller earlier in the day. We spoke with Harris after the results came in. Take a listen.
My chances are outstanding. To be honest with you, we knew tonight that we were going to probably go into a runoff with this many people in it. We also knew that we was going to win tonight. That is very significant. A Democrat actually won tonight, and we're going to go in on April 7th. We're going to win again.
The president's endorsement has had a massive impact across the country. It's going to have great importance here in Georgia 14. The real thing that Georgia 14 should be focused on, we haven't had representation since January 5th. So every moment that goes by that we aren't participating in votes on Capitol Hill is a tragedy for the people here.
Who's that? Sharon, is that
after the results came in, his
Jasmine?
campaign said he was not available.
She posting a lot on that. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Special election. This could be the first of several elections this year to replace Greene.
Didn't ya,
Again, Fuller
Jade?
and Harris head to the runoff on April 7th. The winner will serve the
what
rest
does
of
she,
Greene's term. That ends in January.
Let's see.
If they want to run for the full 2-year term, Democrats and Republicans would have to run again in the primaries in May. Harris and Fuller have qualified for those primaries. They could face a party runoff in June and then the general elections in November. Shauna?
All right, thank you so much, Christopher, for that
She
report
owns
from
an
Fox
international
5 Atlanta.
strategic.
And we also have
Hold on.
this from X, from the New York Post, saying the Georgia.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene owns a Modern Times Group, or Modern Times Group. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, so Marjorie Taylor Greene owns a company, right? Okay, what business does she own? Here's what she owns. She owns Marjorie Taylor Greene is a businesswoman and former U.S. representative who co-owned Taylor Commercial, a Georgia-based construction company. That's what it is. Acquired from her father in 2002, holding a 51% stake valued between $5 million and $25 million. It's kind of a big gap. She also owned a CrossFit gym, CrossFit Passion, from 2013 to 2017, and operates a real estate holding company. Okay, so, I mean, is it possible? Let's see here. It says Taylor Commercial. Greene served as CFO of this construction firm from 2007 to 2011, with her stake providing a significant income, including over $1 million in distributions in 2024. Investments. She is an active stock trader holding investments in blue chip companies like Berkshire Hathaway and JP Morgan, with a portfolio value estimated between $3.1 million and $8.3 million. PMLT Inc., a company she owns that rents office space, and that was a great movie back in the day, valued between $1 million and $5 million. So there's a, let's see here, max, she's worth at least $38 million if she were to sell the construction company at the full $25 million, from what I'm reading right here. Background: Greene graduated from the University of Georgia with a business administration degree. Following her resignation from Congress on January 5th, 2026, she's expected to pursue media or influencer opportunities, not here on Mike Shriver Ministries, according to reports. I just threw that in there as I was saying it. That was kind of funny. I'm so glad she's gone. Yeah, traitor. Although she is entitled to her opinion as a United States citizen, but nevertheless, she never even gave reasons for backing out. Nothing that was legitimate. In fact, he hadn't even taken the oath yet. It was January 5th she resigned. Oh well, she's gone. One less hassle. All right, back to you, Mike Shriver, right here, right now. Here we go.
All right, next up, let's talk about politics. And Georgia is on the mind of many, especially across the country, watching the special election to fill Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat.
This is 2 minutes and 22 seconds.
So let's go out right now. Fox 5 Atlanta's Ray Urena joining us here with a breakdown.
You know, I should have been a newscaster. I rather enjoy doing that.
Yeah, like you mentioned, this is a race that's being watched very closely.
I love it. I love
across the
preaching.
nation.
It's
now, if
wonderful.
you remember, Greene resigned back in January
Only because of who Jesus
after a
is.
very public dispute with President Donald Trump. But throughout the afternoon, we have seen a lot of people, and a steady stream of voters going inside to choose between 17 different candidates to be their next representative in Congress. Voting is underway for a special election in Georgia's 14th congressional district. The district includes 10
Welcome
counties
back,
in Northwest
Angela,
Georgia
child of God.
and parts of the Atlanta metro.
We're encouraging people to get out and vote. We've had a pretty good turnout. We voted
Heck,
over
no way.
14,000 early, and today we're about at 2,300 on Election Day.
The special election got called after former
Southern Bells, I
Congresswoman
love
Marjorie
them.
Taylor Greene
Beautiful
resigned
people.
amid a public dispute with President Trump.
If she needs to go her way and Trump his, I'm okay with that, and clearly we've got some qualified people to fill in.
Notable candidates include Republicans Colton Moore, a
Absolutely.
former state senator, and District Attorney Clay Fuller. The president has endorsed Fuller. Democratic candidate Sean Harris is also running for the seat after losing to Green by about 29 points in 2024.
I'm looking for representatives who can represent the people and not so much for whatever political reasons outside of what the people want.
Republicans are looking to
how
cushion
you
their
gonna
majority
get
in the
that?
House by
It's
winning
politics.
this election, but Democrats look to chip into the GOP advantage. Polls will remain open until 7 o'clock.
Don't wait right until 7, but just get there.
I love
as soon as you
Southern
can, and we'll get
accents.
you
I
taken
just,
care
I
of.
love them. Such friendly people.
If no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote, then a runoff election will be held on April 7th. Reporting live in Rome, Ray Arena, Fox 4 News.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people are going to be watching this. We appreciate all the updates.
And House Republicans just walking up to the podium. Let's lift up the audio.
House GOP leaders hold news conference in Florida.
Are standing in harm's way. Brave men and women who raised their hands and said, "Pick me." They volunteered to protect this country and defend freedom, and that
It
kind
was
of
funny, wasn't it,
sacrifice
Jason? It seemed
reminds
a little
us
bit off, like
just
not
how
like a normal
serious
Southern
this
accent,
moment
like a
is.
little too
At
strong.
the same time, we're
She
carrying
could
the
have been from Tennessee or
responsibility of
Kentucky,
turning
though.
our economy around. The truth is, the Biden administration left this country in a hole. Inflation hammered families. Manufacturers were pushed to the brink. Job creators felt like
Hello,
Washington
Junity.
had turned their
I don't
back
think I said
on
hi
them.
yet.
The American people sent us here to fix it, and that's exactly what we're working to do. We're working to lower costs, unleash American manufacturing, strengthen our
Yeah,
energy
no swearing,
independence,
guys. I appreciate it.
and
Thank
put
you.
bigger paychecks back in
I used
the
to cuss like a
families of
sailor until
hardworking
the Lord changed that in
Americans.
me.
The Working Families Tax Cuts was among the most important pieces of legislation that we passed to do just that. For older generations, we secured $6,000 bonus deduction. For working families, we eliminated taxes on tips. And for parents, we extended the child care credit. And for future generations, we created Trump accounts to jumpstart the American dream. Those are real results for real people, real results that every single Democrat voted against. And I will remind
Rumbles.
everybody
I'm out of
again,
tinfoil.
every single Democrat voted to raise your taxes.
That's right.
Every single Democrat wants the government to keep more of your money. But we're here this week to do more. We're here to fight fraud, to lower costs, and to
Preach it,
expand
sister.
paychecks.
Tear it
We're
up.
here because we love this country.
Amen.
And we believe hard work should be rewarded. Parents should actually have a voice in their child's future. And America should always stand strong against our enemies. We will secure a legacy where Americans keep more of what they earn, where our manufacturers lead the world again, and where the borders are secure, where
Well,
America,
so we'll have to do this old school.
continues to be respected across the globe, where our communities are safe and our values are defended. Over the next few days, we're going to debate policy, strategy, and the issues that matter most to the American people. But at the end of the day, our mission is simple. Make sure the next generation inherits a country that is stronger, freer, and more prosperous than the ones that we were given. The American people are counting on us to do that, and that's exactly what we plan to deliver. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Speaker of our House, who has led us in this journey. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Whip
we're
Emmer.
glad you're with us,
The
Judy.
whip who has also led us in this journey.
Come on,
You don't want to use the box?
Y'all want to see him on the box, don't you?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Thank you, Lisa.
Why would Sharon's comments be held
think.
for review?
From the start of the 119th Congress, House Republicans hit the ground running to enact President Trump's America First agenda. Since then, our majority,
How far
though
back?
slim,
Was it very far back?
has delivered win after win for the American people. We passed the Lake and Riley Act, ensuring that criminal illegal
Amen for
aliens
that
are
act.
swiftly and permanently removed from our
You
communities.
murder one of our
We
people, you
passed
should
the
be
Halt
executed.
Fentanyl Act, equipping law enforcement with the tools that they
Well,
need
given
to
a
save
trial
lives.
first,
We
and
passed
if
the
found
Genius
guilty,
Act
then
to
executed.
ensure America's status as the crypto capital of the world. And we passed
No,
a
I'm not
rescissions package
seeing,
to get rid of the wasteful.
Maybe it was because I don't know why. I don't know why. It was, if it was blocked, Sharon, it would have been done by the system, not me. And I'm looking at your words, and none of your words are on my list for hit words to have it blocked and looked at by a moderator. And the moderator makes the decision to either let it go through. So the moderator will have the option to either hide the comment or show the comment if it's on my word list. In fact, my word list is mostly cuss words, but I'm not seeing any word that you've said here. Maybe the moderators had the option to either hide it or not, but I don't see how that could happen. It might be a glitch, Sharon. It absolutely could have been a glitch. That's my guess, because I'm not seeing any words that you said bad in any of your comments going back minutes and minutes and minutes.
Spending in our federal government. By the way, we finally
nothing.
got back to governing as intended by passing 11 of 12 appropriations bills.
I'm not
through
sure what
regular
happened.
order. And
Put your
perhaps
comment
most
back up
notably,
again,
we
Sharon, if you
passed
remember
a
exactly what you had said, and see
once-in-a-generation
what
bill
happens.
to cut taxes for
Because
every
you shouldn't have been
single
blocked at all.
American. Last year at this member planning session, I said, Democrats go on retreat. We're planning the future. I said our House Republican majority
now it's getting
could
cold
and
out.
would get reconciliation done. Just a little over 5 months later, we did exactly that. The Working Families Tax Cuts delivered massive policy wins, including the largest tax cut in U.S. history. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. Working families are keeping more of their hard-earned money in their pockets because Republicans got it done. Failure
You mean
was
the one
not
that
an
says
option
"Welcome
then,
back,
and
Angela"?
it is not an
That's
option
the
now.
one
Looking
above,
ahead,
no
we're going to
cursing or
continue to
personal
deliver
attacks.
for Americans from coast to coast. We're more energized
only
than
one I could
ever
see.
to lower costs, protect
And then she
taxpayer
meant
dollars,
Macy could
and
win
give
the
every
presidency.
citizen
What a
in this
joke.
country the chance to pursue
Said my
their
brother is a
version of
phoenix
the
at the moment
American dream.
working.
Our work has just begun. It's far from
I don't know.
over. And with
I
that,
don't see
turn
it.
it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Nothing here at all in the last maybe 20, 25 of our messages
Last night we kicked
are
off
bad
this
whatsoever, so I don't
member
know what
session
happened.
where we're planning for the future of this great America, celebrating 250 years, by hearing from our leader, the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And he had
Yeah,
a great
it must be a
message
glitch in the
talking
matrix.
about some of the things we've already done
A glitch in
to
the collective.
work with President Trump as House Republicans to make life more affordable
Peter,
for
20-minute
working
timer.
families. Something we set out to do starting last January, and we've been doing it because we had a lot of mess to mop up from 4 years of Joe Biden. Let's not forget
Ain't that
the
true?
record high inflation, record high interest rates, costs
Preach it.
through the roof. Democrats never wanted to
dismissed.
talk about
Home screen.
affordability when they were jacking up costs on all families, making housing unaffordable for families, opening up our border and letting violent criminals come into this country. And President Trump ran to fix that, and we as House Republicans ran to work with him to fix those problems for working families, and we've been delivering. And make no mistake, this work is far from finished. We're just getting started, and we're delivering real results for families. They're
Barge
finally
fire,
starting to see
Middleton,
costs start
Delaware.
coming down.
What's that about?
Not to the level they were before Joe Biden started racking up those costs, but they're finally coming down. When people file their tax returns this year, 4 in 10 American families are getting real money back, over $1,000 back for most working families. And every Democrat voted against that money being put back in the pockets of working families. Think about this for senior citizens. Senior citizens are seeing a $6,000 tax credit, which for 85% of seniors means they're not going to pay any taxes on Social Security. It's a great benefit for senior citizens. Not millionaires and billionaires. These are seniors who work their entire lives and living on fixed income, and they're finally getting something back. And every Republican delivered on that. Every single Democrat, House and Senate voted no.
I'm going to file this year for the first time
so that
in
is the contrast
4
that
years.
we're laying out as we're planning additional things that we're working on to fix more of the mess that Joe Biden left behind. And there's a lot of bills that are sitting over in the Senate. We're going to be sending them more bills. Our committees, all the chairmen are here, and our members are going to be talking and hearing from all the chairmen about things that we're going to continue to do. We're working on a farm bill, just came out of committee
my daughter at
to
home,
help
so
America's
I can
farmers
actually
across the nation. We've
my
got a really
SSDI,
important housing
plus I
bill we
claim
passed
her
over in the
as a
Senate. The
dependent.
Senate's got a
It wouldn't
different
be
version.
much, but I could
Chairman
get something
Frenchill and
back.
his members are going to be working to hopefully find a common ground to make housing more affordable for families. You look at what we've done, again, on so many different issues to finally get control over spending, not just rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, but to put more money back in the pockets of working families, to get this economy moving again. It's not been easy. Part of the reason it's not been easy is because every step of the way, the Democrat Party, who is a rudderless ship these days, has been voting no on every single issue because they wake up every day and their only motivation, their only agenda is to block anything Donald Trump does because they hate the president.
Exactly, they hate him.
Look at what their own elected leader said. They really don't have a leader right now in the nation amongst Democrats.
This is interesting.
But their elected leader in the House basically said the Iran mission was going to end in failure. Just think about that for a second. You've got a mission going on where men and women in uniform are risking their lives to take out the world's largest sponsor of terrorism, which everybody acknowledges. The threat that Iran posed, trying to get a nuclear weapon, but they had been killing hundreds of Americans for decades. And they want it to end in failure? That's insane. That's what we're working against right now. We shouldn't have to be working against that as House Republicans, but that's okay. We're going to keep our focus as House Republicans on working with President Trump to make life more affordable for working families. If Democrats want to keep voting no, the voters are going to have something to say about this November.
And that was at, what, 2
Man who's
p.m.?
been working tirelessly, not only on the agenda, but going all around the country to spread this message as our speaker.
Righty, we got a new video here. Mike wouldn't have much time to speak. I don't think this video finished out. I like Mike Johnson. I don't know. There's something about him I just do. All right, so here we go right here. Check this out. Punch it, Chewy.
Fox News Alert. This is a story that we started yesterday. The paid network
investigating
behind
paid
some of the
protesters.
protests we've seen across the country. So who's organizing them? Who's paying for them? Well, they appear to be well-funded, coordinated, branded, in fact. And they look a lot like the other protests that we've seen pop up before. Whether or not it was ICE or pro-Palestine, it's the same sign, same language, same structure, literally the same font. Some of the protesters are also the same. They're being paid up to a full salary. Investigative journalist Nate Friedman has been digging into paid protesting, and he recently confronted
a full salary for paid protesting, like
yesterday,
like a yearly salary.
Forum. They've been receiving funds from a pro-China, pro-CCP American businessman.
Get a real job,
so it's not
be a real journalist,
just
and do something for
George Soros?
something in your life.
How can you say with a straight face for me to get a real job? How can you keep a straight face and say that?
I know, right?
Did you or did you not get $20 million from Roy Neville Singham? You
from
can't
who?
deny it.
Wow, $20 million for
Meet
protesting?
Mayan Fulihan. She's a paid protester. Her base salary is $70,000 with an additional compensation of $8,649. So who is this woman getting paid $80K a year to protest?
Oh, $80K
Mayan
a year.
is a Columbia
Okay.
alum with a Palestinian background. She holds a full-time staff position as an educator
Wow,
at the
this
People's
is
Forum
interesting.
as she protests all around New York City.
Now, we have not independently verified the claim that $20 million flowed from Neville Roy Singham, who we told you about yesterday, to that person. We do know, and that amount, not for sure, but we know other funds were directly tied to groups like the People's Forum. That figure was reported by the Free Press. Now, host of the Nate Friedman Show, Nate Friedman, joins me now. Nate, great work. You're doing great work on the streets there, often in New York City, confronting, getting to know, actually. That's the best way to describe it.
That's crazy, man.
Getting to know
80,000
these
a
protesters.
year for just protesting. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. I've gotten to know them quite well over the last year.
And how is that? Is it that you're seeing this? I've seen some of your videos, but it's that you're seeing some of the same people at every protest, handing out the same
$5,000 to
signs, or
$20,000
the
per
same
project.
signs.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I thought that this was grassroots. I mean, after Trump won the election, I was just wanted to see what these anti-Elon protests were about, because this was a crowd of people that used to love Elon Musk, and now they were calling him a Nazi. So I just went to go and see what that was all
Money
about.
talks,
and then
man.
When I arrived, they had, these guards saying, I can't be let in to talk to the protesters. Don't talk to Nate. And this is odd. This is not natural. So that's why I started looking into it.
Yeah, Nate,
That's
yesterday
crazy.
here on this show, we laid out some of the groups, the Answer Coalition, the People's Forum, Code Pink, that are really the funding mechanisms through which a lot of these people receive some money. And we did lay out the
Code
billionaire
Pink. Is
who
that
at
like
least is
Pinko
one of the biggest
commies?
contributors to many of those groups, and Neville Roy
Back in the
Singham.
50s?
But what you've been able to do is also identify the
Good
people
evening,
on
Robert.
the ground.
Good to see you
So
again, man.
in that instance, that lady, she's a full-time paid protester, organizer. There's got to be
Computer
a
screen
lot
off.
like her that you see in the crowds.
Yeah, that's right. So how we got Layan was I saw that there was a Columbus Circle Iran protest scheduled for 5 o'clock. You guys, we all see
Good
the
night,
same
Robert.
signs. They got to come from somewhere. So I went to the People's Forum about 2 hours before they headed out to the protest, and I see all the signs carefully laid out before they go out there. And I also checked to see if they have a back door after they saw me, because I imagine they don't want a viral clip of them all carrying the signs into the van. And I didn't see that option for them, so they had to just come to the front door, and I saw Layan managing everything. And I look at their 990 forms, and she's being paid close to $80,000 a year to be an educator at the People's Forum.
And to be clear, Nate, you've seen these same paid protesters at anti-Elon, anti-ICE, pro-Palestine, in this case, dealing with the war in Iran.
That's right. For example, David Chung, who works at the People's Forum, also is a general manager, being paid close to $80,000 a year.
That's an excellent point,
You can learn more about
Angela.
him at NateFriedmanShow.com.
Yeah, definitely.
Files. But he's being seen at almost every protest that I go to, much less now after we expose him. But yes, it's the same people.
And last note on this, Nate, I think what's important to know is there are people on the streets who have no idea what they're wrapped up in. I'm sure that's to be the case. Well-meaning, impassioned New Yorkers or Minnesotans who join these protests. But I think what's revealing here is the spark and the organization behind what they get wrapped up in is totally manufactured. And even if you were one of those protesters, you might want to know that you've become a pawn in someone's larger plan.
That's right.
Yeah.
They are so against Trump, though, that I'll tell you, I asked one protester, do you know that your sign is being printed by, with the help of a billionaire? And they kind of weasel themselves out of that question. So
my cats are definitely awake right now. They're running through the house like they own the place.
No matter who's funding
probably
it,
do.
no matter who's starting it, no matter the instigator, the initiator, or the
Oh,
spark,
yeah,
it doesn't
that's hot.
matter because in the end, it's anti-Donald Trump. That's really fascinating. For the rest of us,
crazy.
It's good to remember exactly what's behind this, and you're doing great work there. Nate Friedman, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, the Will Cain Show made multiple requests once again for a comment ahead of today's segment to Layan Fulayan, Neville Roy Singham, the People's Forum, and the Goldman Sachs Philanthropy Fund, through some of which this money flows, and we did not receive a response.
Well, the Bible says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say money. As Scripture says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Because money is just an inanimate object. It's no different than my mouse, or the hat, or the pop bottle. It's an inanimate object. But when you put so much love in an inanimate object, it's almost like it brings on a life to itself. That you see it as so more important than the things of God, that it becomes evil. Money, it is like the Scripture says, for the love of money is the root of all evil.
All right, ahead, an attempted ISIS-inspired terror attack on American soil. The suspects, though, tied to naturalized citizens that we welcome into our country. So, how do you police radicalization? Is it possible? Is this a story of terror, or is this a story of immigration? My thoughts next.
I got to find part 2 to this. Or maybe we'll save it for tomorrow. All right, guys, I am going to eat dinner here in a little bit, a few minutes. I appreciate all of you being here, and I will see you most likely tomorrow. If not, I will definitely see you Friday. So, all right, guys, I appreciate all of you. God bless you. Thanks for hanging out and being cool with me today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, and never ever forget that